Hello, everybody, and welcome to another next week's comics. How's everybody doing out there? I see a lot of familiar names and faces, or avatars, I should say. Hey, nobody. Hi, Jim. Hey, Okie. Hey, BG. Hey, James. Let's see. I see Zombie Teddy. How you doing? Old Guy Gamer. How you doing? TOS. How you doing? Shady. What's up, Shady? Tall persons out there. How you doing? Hey, Camel. Hi. That appears to be everybody. Thank you all for coming out today. Hey, Evolved. What a day, huh? All right, let me tweet out that I'm live. And then we can get started on some comics. Oh, thank you, Hey Camel, for retweeting the link. Appreciate that. That helps a lot. Like, share, and subscribe. You guys know the drill. Hey, Merle. Did you see Sargon and Sargon's little brother today? Nope. Hey, Costin, how you doing? No, I've been off the internet most of the day. Except for watching a couple of crime documentaries and missing 411 videos. Hey, Pete, how you doing, man? So let's see here. Oh, that's interesting. Well, we're going to talk about that Pazio stuff. Thank you for the heads up, BG. Yeah, well, I was kind of on Twitter for off and on throughout the day, but that was about it. Just retweeting stuff I want to talk about later. I don't think Monkey's going to stream tonight, so I might do a Sunshine stream on my other channel and do some politics. But beyond that, we're not here for politics right now, per se. So let's talk about some comic books, because those are always apolitical, right? We'll start over with DC Comics like usual. So first up, we have Aquaman the Becoming, where Aqualad is going to replace Arthur Curry. And this isn't the real Aqualad. This is the son of Manta, who assumed the Aqualad identity a few years back, and he's super gay now. So of course they're going to replace Aquaman with him. So I'm not getting that. Batman Fear State, they're slowly pushing Bruce Wayne out of Gotham City, and that's the plot line here. It's the future state stuff coming in. And he's here with Asian Batman, Ghostmaker, who's a lazy knockoff of Batman, like a really lazy knockoff. And they're working on getting rid of Bruce Wayne so they can bring in the Black Batman, written by Jason Ridley, who really doesn't seem to like white people too much. Then we've got Miracle Molly, which is a Batman Secret Files book. Miracle Molly is the bestest ever. She's super smart, techno-transhumanist. She's the bestest ever. And she could see right through Batman's disguise and knew right away that he was Batman. It's really lazy. Another uninspired character from James Tynion IV, who is capable of being a really good writer, but he's gotten very woke in SJW. And of course, she's got the side of her head shaved, and she's the one that wears the ugly, hideous 80s thrift store crap. I'm not buying that either. Batman vs. Bigby. This is by Brian Williamson, or Willingham. He does the Fables books, or did, rather. This is a mini-series they're doing. I'm not really interested. I was never a big Fables fan, so I have zero interest in this. An Asian Batman in COVID times? I know, right? Oh, yeah, by the way, thank you, Okie Native, for the donation. Have some ketchup with your future lunch, or as lunch, whatever, dealer's choice. Well, you never know. You'd be surprised at the things I've eaten. And probably horrified. So I'm not buying this. The art will be fine. The story is probably going to be fine. I'm just not a Fables fan. Batman Little Gotham. That looks dumb. So I'm not buying that. Batman The Adventures continues. This is loosely based off the animated series. I have no interest in it. Storylines were crap the first couple issues and just don't care. Batman the Detective. This is really weak. Tom Taylor trash. Kind of redundant on that one. Birds of Prey, Fighters by Trade. I don't care. It's a graphic novel. Well, it's actually a trade paperback, but whatever. Don't care. Catwoman, Fear State. Oh, look, the lesbians. Look at that. That's somebody that's about to go down on her. That's not a oh my kind of thing. I don't care about this. I like the art though. Joelle Jones is a good artist. I just really don't care about Fear State at all. Looney Tunes, that'll be fine. They do really solid Looney Tunes stuff most of the time. Nightwing, I don't care. I'm so far behind on Nightwing, and I just have no interest in it at this point. Shazam, I'll probably pick this one up because it looks fairly interesting. I've got the first two issues. I just haven't read them. The art's a little weird, though. I'm not a huge fan of that. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That's a bunch of she's better than Superman nonsense. Superman and Lois Lane, 25th anniversary edition of the wedding story. That's fine. I'd probably buy that if I had the money, but I think I own all the issues, so I'm not real worried about it. But yeah, it's a reasonable purchase. Superman, Son of Kal-El. Hey, look, he's already into some kink. That's big gay Superman, and that's probably not Clark because he's getting written out. They're going to banish him to War World if they haven't already. That's the storyline, seriously. They're banishing Clark Kent. And then we've got The Flash 774. I'm going to pick this up because it's actually been getting pretty good. The 2021 annual absolutely saved that disastrous piece of garbage Heroes in Crisis where they really tried to ruin Wally West. And Jeremy Adams did the unbelievable move of fixing that storyline so it made sense. And it was obviously a retcon, but it was a really well done one. So if you want to see that being a hero being salvaged, especially Wally West, that is a great issue. I would recommend Dark Knight's Death Metal Speed Metal and Flash 2021 annual for the salvation of Wally West. Don't read anything from Heroes in Crisis till then, for the most part, with Wally West, because they're mostly trash. But those two issues really salvaged Wally. Hey, Vanessa, how you doing? Yeah, Shazam's the Captain Marvel. Absolutely. Hey, Deckfish, how you doing? Costin, yeah, I would think he should be promoted. And why do I not have you as a mod? All right, fix that. Wonder Woman, Agent of Peace, I don't care. So there's only two books worth picking up, Shazam and Flash. And Shazam I'm kind of on the fence about. It's only a 4-issue miniseries. I'm already halfway in, so as long as it's not complete dog shit, I'll probably round it out. All right, let's get on to Image Comics for next week. Oh, glad to hear it, Deckfish. Oh, thank you, Zombie. Testing. 1, 2, 3. All right, Image Comics, we have Chew, don't care. Frontiersman. This looked like a bunch of hippie crap. All right, new ongoing series. Classic Green Arrow style adventure blends with the thoughtfulness of Concrete and a superhero odyssey for mature and uncynical readers. That's not me. I'm neither that mature, and I'm definitely not uncynical. Frontiersman is coaxed out of retirement by an environmentalist group, only to find that being a spokesperson makes him a target for old and new enemies. Wow. Not political at all. Gideon Falls, don't care. Philadelphia sucks. King Spawn, I'll probably pick up issue 2. It's only $3. I've got issue 1. I just haven't read it yet. It looked really good, though. The art looked beautiful. Hey, Demon. How you doing? Found the Berserk manga in an online format for free. Oh, yeah, well, I can't endorse anything that isn't legit. I'm sure you got them through a perfectly legitimate option. Mariko and Adolfo's Sweet Paprika, stupid. Not interested. Mariko and Adolfo is really overrated. Noctera, second print. Buy those in trade if you want to read Noctera, because it's an okay series. It's just obviously dragged out for the trade paperbacks. So just read it that way. Get it cheap somewhere. But otherwise, it seemed fine. Old Guard Tales Through Time, don't care. Ordinary Gods, don't care. Radiant Black, same thing. Get it in trade paperback if you want to read it, because it's really slow going in. 6 pages of oatmeal. Second chance. I'm not bitter about that. Second Chances, don't care. Mercy or Saint Mercy looks stupid. Stillwater, don't care. Summoner's Ward, don't care. Swing, that looks like porn. Siphon, at first when I first saw they were putting out a book called Siphon, I thought it was based on the Now comics characters, and I was excited, but it's not. It's some boring crap. Garbage. So Image, I'm gonna get King Spawn too. On to Dark Horse, we got more Black Hammer because they love Black Hammer for some reason. Somebody I can't pronounce, Child of Wonder, don't care. Looks annoying. Killer Queens, terrible art, bad story, not interested. Norse mythology, I'll just get it in trade if I'm that excited about it, and I'm not right now. It's little vignettes, and those are never that well done in comics. Backup stories are rarely interesting, and they're never key, so it's kind of hard to get excited about them. So that's something better bought in trade, I think. Let's see. Tales from Harrow County, don't care. So, really nothing there. Image Comics, we got G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. This is a Storm Shadow Spotlight issue. I'm going to get that. Marvel Action Spider-Man, that looked like a decent kids book. I don't really care about it, though. Pirate Penguin versus Ninja Chicken. Great title. It's a kid's book, I think. Don't really care. Rivers graphic novel looked really boring with shit art. Star Wars Adventures Ghost of Vader's Castle 1. This looked like it might be good. A lot of the IDW Star Wars stuff is pretty decent. The art's generally a little wanting, though, but R2-D2 and C-3PO look really good. I might get that, but I doubt it. Let's see. TMNT Last Ronin, I'm going to pick that up. I got the first 3 issues. I only glanced at the first one. Looked good. It's Eastman and Laird, I think, doing it. So it should be pretty good. Yeah, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird writing with Ben Bishop on art. So it should be pretty good. Transformers, I dropped that title. It was just sitting there. I'm way far behind anyway. Beast Wars, the art sucks. So for my IDW, I'm getting G.I. Joe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin. Maybe the Vader's Castle one, because it's a mini-series. I sense bitterness. Maybe a little bit, yeah. 6 pages of oatmeal. Well, it was technically 8 pages of them sitting around talking, but 6 pages of them just pretty much eating oatmeal and 2 pages of nonstop dialogue. It was riveting stuff. Oh, thank you, tall person. Sorry about that. Thank you, tall person. Bit off topic, but it is a comic stream. Can you explain to me, a very casual comic book reader? I just watch animated stuff. Who, what is Galactus? Robot, aliens, god, cyborg. I know he eats planets and sends a herald. That's it. He's an ancient creature, like a celestial being that goes around and devours planets. That's how he gains energy, is he converts the planets to energy, and the more life on them, the more energy it gives him. So a barren world doesn't feed him as well as a planet with living creatures on it. So that's how he absorbs power. He's sort of like a a cleanup crew for the universe. That's what his job is. And the heralds are sent out to find him planets to consume. They're not necessarily to announce him or anything. They're just there to scout things out and occasionally tell people they're all going to die. But that's what their job is to go out into the universe and find him suitable meals. And he just drifts around doing that. But he's a very, very old creature. That's sort of the thing with him. They've changed various other aspects of his background over the years. I'm not sure what they're at with him now. But there at one point were other creatures like him. And now I think he's the only one. They did one where he died and then another character took over and it was as his role. It was really dumb. But I don't really pay much attention to some of that stuff. But that's the general gist of it. Also, thank you, Vanessa. I know nothing about comics, but my young kids love the Venom movie. I think I've heard you say in the past that it's very different than the comics, but would you recommend the comics for young boys? If so, what age? If you're looking for Venom books, your best bet would be these IDW Marvel Action Spider-Mans. You could get the trades for about $10, and Venom's in a couple of those. The Venom book that's out now is definitely aimed more toward teenagers. I don't think I would recommend it for young readers, like 8 or 9, anywhere in that range. I don't think I'd recommend that. It's a little too violent, and there is often some blood and carnage in there, and some very adult themes. So I don't know. If they like Venom, I would direct them toward the Marvel Action Spider-Mans. Venom's in there several times. That's probably the best option. They did do some other ones back in the early 2000s that were aimed at younger readers. So if your kids are like between 8 and 12, you could look for those. They were like Marvel Adventures, I believe. And the Marvel Tales reprints from back in the late 80s, early 90s would have some Venom stuff too, but not a whole lot. It's kind of hard. I need to know more about the age, but most of the Venom stuff's probably not really for younger kids. Sorry, I know that's not very helpful. But yeah, the Venom movie's pretty different. If you don't mind them seeing some blood and gore, the Venom comic series that's going on now won't be too bad for them. But there is some definite adult themes in there of like manipulation of the symbiotes and lots of murder and people getting eaten, torn apart, that sort of thing. That's the best I can offer. Sorry. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Although if I come up with something, I will let you know. And thank you for the donation. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's what I'm getting from IDW. Big blue whale eats shrimp while going off. Well, good for Galactic. Marvel Comics, alien crap. It's boring, slow, very slow. Avengers, wow, this was so incredibly bad. Daredevil, second print. It's a reprint. Chip Zdarsky, if you want to read the Elektra as Daredevil storyline, this is what you'll want to pick up. $16. It's actually not a bad price. And it collects more issues than it's valued at. So 7 issues for $16. Anymore, you're almost better buying trade paperbacks of stuff you're interested in. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Oki. I missed that one. I was at one of my locals today. They let a guy set up a table. He turned old comic pages into wallets and change purses, stacked a couple together, plastic coated them, then bent and glued them into paper shape and riveted them together. Sold a lot. Wow. As a comic collector from the old days, I'm morally offended by that. That's horrifying. I would just as soon not buy a wallet made out of human flesh. That's gross. Boys are 4 and 5, but don't mind gore. They love Jurassic Park movies too. Oh yeah, yeah, Vanessa. If you don't mind them seeing that sort of thing, then yeah, you could probably pick up some of the Venom stuff. You should be able to find some of it fairly cheap. There's some reprints, some True Believers reprints. If you have a comic shop near you, you could pick up the True Believers reprints with Venom. They're only $1. You could still find tons of them laying around, and there's going to be a couple that are going to be a little overpriced that are like $3 or $4, but those will be way more entertaining for the kids. There's way more action in those old reprints. Jurassic Park. If they like Jurassic Park, there was a mini series called Dino Saucers. It was about alien dinosaurs. That was really fun. I don't remember who put it out, but it came out a few years ago. You should be able to find that really cheap too. I hope that helps, Vanessa. Sorry. How they make money if they don't hire only artists that can draw static scenes and raise the floppy prices sky high? Question for the ages. They're just ripping people off at this point. 6 pages of oatmeal and talk. Yeah, they're hire people from like TV, and TV does not translate well to comics. It's boring. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, Oki. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but the problem with a lot of this stuff now is that there's a lot of pseudo geeks that are like Big Bang Theory nerds. They don't really have an interest in the hobby. They're just doing it because it's cool. And I think that hurts the hobby more than it helps. Oh, good. I'm glad I could help, Vanessa. Uh, yeah, those dollar books, they really need to go back to doing those because they had some awesome stuff. They reprinted Spider-Man 300, which is a big blowout fight with Venom. And they did one of the issues of Lethal Protector and a bunch of others. Some real classic stuff for $1, and it was a great deal. They redid the first Iron Man appearance too. It was only $1. It was just a reprint from the '60s, but who cares? Unless you want to spend a couple $100 buying the original, $1 is a great deal. I'm not surprised, Oki. Yeah, I have a moral problem with that. I guess I'm not a big fan of destroying literature, even if it is stuff that isn't selling. I get it. I get why people would want to buy that. It's cool and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm a book nerd. It's amazing how many 10-year-olds had $5 to buy a comic wallet. Wow. Yeah, when I was 10, I would have killed for $5. You know how many comics I could have bought for that? At least 5. All right, so Death of Doctor Strange. This is leading up to Captain Marvel taking over as Sorcerer Supreme or Sorceress Supreme. I don't really care. It looks like the cover is really cool, but the interior art's going to be crap, I think. Like, that's a really cool cover. This background looks really cool with these stars and stuff. I just don't. Everything is a mini series and nothing's permanent at Marvel. It's never interesting, and they're just doing this to be edgy. So they're going to kill him off, bring him back in a couple of years when the sales are total dog shit, and then nobody will care anymore because they'll probably be out of business by then. Defenders, this looked like trash. The art's horrible. Fantastic Four, it's just one of the... Dan Slott is one of the laziest people in comics. I'm sorry. And I don't care about all the supporting characters. Gamma Flight, that book sucks. Guardians of the Galaxy Annual, this is some Annihilation storyline tie-in. It didn't look that good. I don't really care about the Guardians anymore. They've really watered it down. No, her powers aren't based in magic, but she is the best ever. Evolved, I don't think you're getting it. She's the best thing since milk was invented. The Incredible Hulk Epic Collection. These are pretty good. This reprints 157 through 178. It's worth the money, but I'm not spending that much money on it. $45 is way too much. Get it off Amazon for $5-10 off, or get it on half price trades for like $30. But it's not worth 45. But it is a good series. I would buy it if I had $45, but then I would go on half price or in stock trades and buy it way cheaper. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, don't care about that character at all. Moon Knight, that book sucks. Reptile, that book's stupid. It's just boring, and I don't care about this character. Spirits of Vengeance, Spirit Rider. I've got the first print of that around here somewhere. I haven't read it yet. It's in the stack. I was thinking about doing that as a patron video, but it looks really bad, so I'm probably not going to. Oh, do I sound like Tom from Midnight's Edge? Yeah, I just buy him to read him anymore. That's the guy who's almost as big of a nerd as you. That's funny, Ginger. I don't buy them to collect them anymore. I just buy them to read them. And I buy stuff I want to read or that looks good. So dollar books, amazing. That's how they should try and hook in new readers. What they need to do is take those reprints and put them in Dollar Trees or Dollar Generals. Charge $1 for them, and they use it as a loss leader to get people in to buy the regular books and the trade paperbacks. But they refuse to think outside the box. They are very, very foolish when it comes to how to run their business. They've got to get it back in retail stores because the direct market is dying. There's not enough comic shops to support this anymore. So they've got to branch out. They did that at first by going into bookstores and getting comics in bookstores. Well, the bookstores dropped that stuff, and now there's barely any bookstores. So what's your options? Well, you got to think outside the box and get it back in grocery stores or back in to like a dollar store, especially like Dollar Tree. It's perfect. There's people in there that are buying stuff. They're obviously watching their budget, and they'll buy some dollar comics. And even if they're reprints, some kid won't care. He'll want to read the story. So you give them some old reprints that are like complete stories from the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, and you do a bunch of those. Get a rack full every month. You don't have to release that many. They were doing really well at my comic shops. So it's a foolish waste of time because some of this trash they're producing is costing them way more than those would, and they're not bringing in new customers. If anything, they're pushing more people away. More angry, but similar interests. Do I have any really valuable ones? I've got a couple that are worth a little bit. Not much anymore. I sold most of my comics. When I quit reading comics around 2007, 2008, I had largely quit the hobby. I sold most of my books then, and sold my I have the first appearance Wolverine, which is Hulk 180 and 181. I sold those for about $1,000. Turned around and bought another set of those and sold those for $1,500. So I ended up profiting pretty nicely off that. So yeah, I used to have a fair amount of older comics that were worth money, but I don't have anything that's really valuable now. I think the most valuable one I've got is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 31 from the third series, which was limited to 10,000 print run. It's worth about $150. Dollar stores could be the new newsstand venue for comics. Yeah, absolutely they could. Why they're not looking into that is foolish to me. Because it looks really good. Then they're getting their stuff out there, and they're also promoting literacy, and they need to focus on that aspect. Instead, they're focused on their lazy politics. See, Conan was acquired by Funcom. I did see that. I watched most of the video Midnight's Edge put out on it, but I got kind of bored listening to them jibber jabber and lost interest very quickly. But Conan is, most of the original stories have fallen into public domain, but the trademark hasn't. That's the real moneymaker. So you can write a Conan story, you just can't call it Conan on the cover because that's trademarked. And eventually that'll fall out too, because once all the stories are out in public domain, it's not really going to be worth much anymore. Fortnite crossover with Conan, that one surprised me. Oh my, that's horrible, Ginger. Yeah, Pete, I sold my comics for a pretty healthy amount back in the day. I still had a bunch of comics left over from the comic shop when I was running that. Sold all those off to one guy. He bought all the comics and all the toys off me. And that made me come out with a $200 profit from all of that. Otherwise, I probably would have lost a bunch of money. You need to be giving away small 5 to 10 page mini comics, so pocket Bible at every Marvel movie premiere. Absolutely, Oki. They should be giving away mini comics like that you used to get with the Masters of the Universe figures that were like 10 pages. They were basically backup stories, but it's a complete story, and you give them away. It's got to be about the characters in the movies, or at least one of the characters, and give them away, make them collectible, say they're only available at the movie theater, and then have the local comic shop have a space on the back cover for the local comic shops to stamp their names. Shit, I would sell them the same way you sell the free comic book day stuff, which is you get them for about 10 cents a piece. It's a big bulk thing you buy and you give them away. And they should be marketing those to comic shops to go to their local theaters and give away. Then they're making money off of them, and at the same time, it's free publicity for the comic shops. What do you mean you don't have enough money to pay for a living wage or even keep printers running? Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody's got a dollar store around them, whether it's a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General, or what's the other big one? Dollar Value, I think it is. They don't have those around me, I don't think. There was another one that was like had brown and orange colors. But there's lots of those in every small town. Driving through Ohio, we see Dollar Generals in just about every little town. It's brilliant strategy because you're not competing with yourself. Because if you have in the cities, if you have retail space and you've got two stores that are like 2 miles apart, you end up competing with yourself. So by going out to these smaller communities, you could say, well, we're promoting literacy in underserved areas. And at the same time, you're also in an area that would give you access to a new customer base. So that's my strategy for it, that I would do it if I was Marvel, but they don't seem to care about money. Same with DC. They're kind of, at least DC's got some stuff in Walmart. So, and the Peachtree Playthings has got the Disney licenses, and they've got comics in Walmart for $1. That's just smart. And those are actually really nice quality. I was surprised by how good a quality they were. Yeah, exactly. You do a loss leader to get people in, and then they buy other stuff. That's the entire concept of a loss leader. But Marvel doesn't seem to understand how retail works, and they don't understand their own market, which is foolish, because if you hook people when they're young, they'll be lifelong fans. Anybody that watches sports knows this. If you're a sports fan, you grow up watching sports with your family. My family's not sports people, so we don't do that. But I've seen this with other people. It's bonding time. You get to hang out with your dad or mom or whatever, watching the game, and then you become a diehard fan for the team. That's why Monkey loves the Chargers. I don't get it. It sounds like they're a terrible team, but they still have diehard loyalists. And Marvel could be doing that now. Same with DC or any of these other companies. Take a risk. You have no choice because you're going to go out of business if and when Diamond collapses, which is looking more and more likely the way things are going. My mother's family learned to read English from comics. They moved up to newspapers and would have left America with the political stuff printed today. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the nice things about comics is you learn new words. That's how it used to be anyway. They'd use simplistic language, but they would introduce fantastical words, big words that were used in common vernacular, but were hyperbolic. So people that were learning to read, kids especially, a lot of kids, and like you said, immigrants learned to read off of that. Family Dollar, that's it, Demon. Thank you. Dollar Tree, they could source super cheap from their Asian printers to want to make the cheap card games and kids books. Yep. And the True Believers line, which is their dollar line, were already printed on lower quality paper, and they're just reprints. So there's no reason for them to be collectible. The most I've ever seen one of those go is $5. I know I can't tell them how to run their business, but they're probably going to go out of business because of that. Nostalgia, cool kids comics. Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing. Future state is a risk, but a risk that's been shown to bomb hard. Yeah, well, that's the problem is you don't want to risk your entire lineup. A bunch of reprints not selling well, it's not a huge deal. You're not out the money for the original art and production and all that. You already have all this stuff on hard drives because they're all issues that were already digitized. So everything's already on a disc. You're really only out the cost of the printing and shipping. So it's a very minimal risk. And even then, you could liquidate them to liquidation companies like Ollie's, which ends up with a lot of Marvel trade paperbacks, by the way. And you reprint the classic first appearances, important storylines, things like that people would be interested in. You reprint what they should do, if it were me, and I'm way off topic here, but cheap stores, Dollar General. Exactly. Dollar General would be the perfect choice because those things are freaking everywhere. If it were me, I would take 2 titles. You get Astonishing Tales or Journey into Mystery or something like that, and Marvel Tales. Marvel Tales reprinted Spider-Man. You just reprint the reprints of the original Spider-Man series from Amazing Fantasy 15 all the way up to the Clone Saga. That would give you like 400 issues. And you reprint those all with all the extraneous parts. Like when you got to Kraven's Last Hunt, you'd reprint a Web of Spider-Man story as well because you want the complete thing. And you reprint those for $1 a piece. And then you reprint like Classic X-Men as your other title. I would go with 4 titles because I would do X-Men, Spider-Man, Avengers, and pick one of the other ones. Make it like Marvel Team Up. So you'd get Spider-Man and somebody else. Or 2-in-1 where you had the Thing and someone else. Or just a potpourri. And keep those 4 titles $1 a piece. They could be displayed easily at any dollar store because they already have like coloring book racks and stuff like that. And you're not out any real money. You're just out the printing cost, which you get bulk rates anyway, and it's cheaper per issue to do. So what you sell is going to compensate for that printing and shipping cost, and you don't have to pay any new art teams or anything. No new writing teams. What if a true fan acquired some of those IPs? That'd be amazing. Considering how many IPs Disney owns, because they own Marvel, Malibu, CrossGen, and a couple others. I want to say they bought up Eternity as well. So they own quite a lot of characters, like literally thousands just with Marvel. But you've got all the Malibu characters, all the Ultraverse stuff by proxy because that was a Malibu book, all the cross-gen universe stuff that they've never done anything with, really. They printed a few new stories that were really woke trash that only lasted 4 issues, and that was it. Ruined because I think we all know you buy them cheap, but then you buy them cheap and make a profit. Yeah. Pulp reprints for $1 to $1 store to keep the kids occupied as stocking stuffers. Turned into Transformers TNT. Exactly. See, you know what I'm talking about, Okie. I loved the pulp books too. Had a bunch of those as a kid. The Destroyer and Shadow, a Spider. Those were comics before comics. Hey, Ori. But no, Marvel won't do that. Neither will DC, because DC's doubling down on woke, and Marvel hates itself, apparently. So sorry to get off on that vastly long, rambly tangent, but it just pisses me off how easy they could turn around and build a new audience and bring back some old fans, and they refuse to do it. Especially now that Disney owns Star Wars and they have the Star Wars license. They could be reprinting all the original Star Wars books they did in the 70s, and they're not doing it. Instead, they're bringing out this 28-part crossover that nobody fucking cares about. I've only heard complaints about this. They're not complaining about the storyline. They're complaining that it's over 20 parts, and they're not interested in all these other titles. And the X-Men books, sales have really dipped on those. Don't care about that either. Symbiote Spider-Man, might pick up the trade. United States of Captain America, woke trash. Which is a real shame. Look at this shit art. Look at those thighs. There's like 5 Asians that have those thighs. Ugh. X-Corps, don't care. X-Force, don't care. X-Men, they're trying to make them heroes again, and it's failing miserably. X-Men Legends is great. I'm going to pick that up. Onslaught, of course, they had to bring that back. I'm only getting X-Men Legends from Marvel. They really need to push little kids' comics at grocery stores. When parents take their kids shopping, they'll whine about wanting them. Yeah, that's what we used to do. The first Star Wars figures I had back in the 70s were from the local Kroger store. My mom would go grocery shopping. They were $1.29, and she'd buy one just to shut us up. And then she'd buy comics for the same reason. This will shut you up for 10 minutes. But most grocery stores don't even sell magazines anymore. They have a couple at the checkout, and that's it. If they were smart, they'd be trying to get in on that market. But they're not thinking of that. They also used to have magazines that were comic-oriented. Like, we had Masters of the Universe magazine that lasted like a year. But they do these. They did that with Star Trek and all the Star Treks. And they used to have like Starlog and stuff like that. But that appealed to teenagers. But they don't have anything like that anymore. Because they just assume they can't compete. And if you assume that, then you've already lost. I don't think they're going to recover this time, Kyler. I think their clock is ticking. Disney hates Star Wars. I know. They really do seem to hate it. It's like they forgot the millennials are almost 40 and they're in nostalgia market right now. We've got money to spend. Yeah, that's the problem is most of their fan base is in their mid-40s and they're pissing them off. They're not bringing in any new people. They're just alienating their old audience. There might be a handful coming in, but it's not enough to sustain the industry. And there's not enough of these diehard wokeists that are going to buy these boring-ass books. The books aren't exciting. They're not interesting because anytime they do anything interesting, it makes people mad. Because the interesting stuff involves action and, oh my God, you're beating up a POC or blah, 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 whatever. Or you don't have the right gender non-conforming delusional person. So they're shooting themselves in the foot by focusing on these people that will never be satisfied and don't buy their stuff. They just download it for free off of some Russian site. So, yeah, it's a suicidal industry right now because they can't get away from the political angles. And that just leaves an opportunity for another company to come in. If a place like Boom or American Mythology or someone like that could work out a deal with a dollar store to do reprints of public domain comics from like the Golden Age or their stuff, then they would be way ahead on building a loyal audience and surviving the coming collapse of the industry. Before Disney wanted to bury the expanded universe, which is stupid since it's more popular than their trash. Yeah, exactly. But they don't understand how fan bases work. They're just looking at it from a corporate mindset, which is when you acquire something, you shut it down. And then you install your thing. That doesn't work in fandoms. That's not how fandoms operate in any respect of anything. That's That's ludicrous, but they don't understand their own market. They have people there that are only interested in doing something so they can go on to their next corporate position at another company. They shuffle around every 3 to 5 years. So you have to have something on your resume saying, I was in charge of this project. Whether it succeeded or not is irrelevant. You have to look like you were in charge of something so you can demand a higher pay raise. So with an ever-shifting corporate middlemen and underlings, you never are able to actually get ahead. And that's the problem with a big bloated bureaucracy. Having worked limited corporate stuff, this is what I picked up on right away is it doesn't matter how good your project is. It just has to be notable in 5 years. Digest at Kroger anymore? Oh, that sucks. I've been seeing them at my local Kroger, and the big box stores tend to have them at the checkouts. Even Walmart will have them up by the People magazine and stuff. And I've seen people buy them for their kids because they're like $8, but it's like 6 comics long, 6 to 8 comics, and it'll shut their kid up for a half an hour. They're usually for the little kids, but they do sell, and they're impulse buys because the magazine's like $6 now too. If you could get dollar books in there, even $2 books at those checkout lines, you would be selling way more than you are now. Sam's Club and Costco? I didn't know they sold comics there or mangas. Yeah, Oki, that's the problem is they don't recognize that you're not going to attract new fans by changing what's been working, what's been popular. We saw this with Masters of the Universe. They were trying to subvert expectations because they are of the mindset that that's what you have to do now. And it's not. If they had just kind of copied the Funimation formula, they could have changed the way people looked a little bit. They have to do that to some degree so they don't get sued. They would have been way better off. Instead, they've got to constantly be edgy. There's no respect for the original IPs anymore. They just hire random people to produce content. That's not what's memorable. Content is not memorable. The art is memorable. The crafting of it. There has to be a love for the property. And when there isn't that, it's just something to be consumed and destroyed. That's why comics have held up so well, is there is an art form to it. And they've lost that. Oh, thanks, Assassin. Comic books are too expensive. Yeah, they should never be more than $3. Hate marketing. Oh, it absolutely is, tall person. They got a bunch of hate viewers. That's why if you don't like the stuff, don't like what they're doing, don't watch it, don't support it, don't pay for it. Because that's the only way they're going to learn that this stuff isn't popular. There's so many people watching Masters of the Universe Revelations that were just hate watching it to see what all the bitching was about. Their numbers look good. So they think, well, we just piss them off. And then you get more destructionist nonsense. Subversion is only good when it's not always trying to be subversive. Exactly. It has to be rare. And then it actually works. Otherwise, it's just trite stereotyping. Yeah, I always find stuff at Ollie's, but it's never anything I want to buy. There was an entire bin one time full of graphic novels. There wasn't a single thing in there I had any interest in reading. It was all garbage. That Masters just got screwed over with the deal with Netflix. Their mandates killed it. I think the mandates were a big part of it, but there are plenty of black characters in Masters of the Universe that they could have used without doing what they did. And killing He-Man at the beginning was just lazy writing. And the woke crap, it was just pathetic. It was lazy. It was an insult to the fandom. If they had paid more respect to the characters, it wouldn't have gotten anywhere near as bad as it was. Good stories with the hero's journey would be edgy in the modern context. It would, sadly. And that's why a lot of indie stuff is getting popular, because they're sticking with the original formula. There's things that are stereotypes and cliches for a reason. And a lot of people see the hero's journey as that. But that's a timeless aspect. They need to go back and read some freaking Joseph Campbell and read the Hero with 1,000 Faces. Because if you don't read the Masks of Creation series, you're not going to understand that there is a craft to storytelling, and story arcs are very, very important. You have to have character development as well as an overarching theme. That's why Star Wars works so well. It took universal themes and glued it into a sci-fi fantasy setting. Never on vacation or anything to do with Utah. How many 411 dealing with missing people from Utah? You'd be surprised how many people go missing, especially at national parks. It's worth looking into. There's tons of videos on YouTube about it, especially from Can-Am Missing. That's the source to go to. Also, Missing Persons and National Park Mysteries, I think it's called. That channel is really good, too. Steve Stockton's a great narrator. They're not releasing the numbers who watches Tila and Silent Bob Dismantle Culture. There's millions of subscribers. Yeah, that they don't have to that way. Right before the beer rush around the world, Ollie's got a large selection of trades. Oh, wow. No one bought those. I'm not surprised. So what they're doing to culture is really disgusting because it's not just comics. It's not just role-playing games. It's not just anime. You're seeing the same types of people infecting all of the things that you love to subvert it. And it's an entire generation of people that were raised with ideas that are counter to human instinct and emotion and human mythos, because the hero's journey is a universal human myth. It's an arc that everybody can relate to because you can adapt it to any life. You have strife, you have suffering, you go back and tell others. And sometimes the heroes die, sometimes they don't make it back, but that's the hero's journey. El Cid is a legend for a reason. Gilgamesh, still an epic that's taught in schools. It's thousands of years old. There's a reason these ancient myths and legends stay with us and are adapted into modern times. You take a story like Yojimbo that Akira Kurosawa filmed back in, the 50s, and you see how that story has translated over and over again into a Bruce Willis movie, Last Man Standing, damn near the exact same film, just with guns and in the 20s. And you see that same type of thing being used over and over again because those myths are universal. It doesn't matter that it came from Japanese culture or European culture. The minor nuances change to fit the setting. That's it. The theme itself and the character development is fundamentally the same. And they're not using those because they don't understand them and they weren't taught them. There's too many people that are so-called writers now that don't understand the concept of the 3-act story, beginning, middle, and end. And things have to happen in all 3 parts. And they think they're being subversive. They think they're too smart. They think they're better than that, and they're not. And that's why their sales dip, and they don't understand that because most of the time they're inserting themselves or someone like them in as the primary character. That's why they get so offended, because you're directly attacking them when you're attacking their so-called art. Because they've put themselves in that book. Instead of doing that, you have to have some experience with knowing what other people are like, having social interaction with other people, and using them as characters as well. You can't just put it all from your perspective and try and force it on people. It doesn't sell. You can do that in a communist type system, but not in a free market, because that does not sell well. You always have a niche market, but that's not enough to sustain an industry. And we're seeing that over and over again with all these different industries, because the people that are coming up that are creating stuff don't have the experience with what mythology is, with how to create a world building setting. They don't know how to create anything beyond their limited scope of experience. They don't read books. They don't read mythology. They don't read folklore. They don't understand what undying mythology is, or fables, or the archetypes that are involved. They have no understanding of that. And that's why we see so much of this stuff failing. And they're frustrated because their stuff isn't doing well, but they also can't see the fact that because they've alienated so much of specific negative, bad things, that they don't understand the archetypes that need to be used to make this stuff successful. They could have successful social justice books but they refuse to do the research because it's problematic. Oh, Joseph Campbell used the word Oriental because he was from the 40s and 50s. So he's a bad person, so we can't study him. Well, you're missing out on a lot of structure systems that would make your life a lot easier and make your artwork a lot more interesting if you did. So, yeah. So I am way off on total tangents right now. Yeah, there's a reason the Odyssey's good, but you can't talk about that because it's evil European stuff. Yeah, Assassin, you're not wrong. It's too much work for them. Red Harvest and Last Man Standing is set in the correct time frame of the original novel. Yeah, but it's you get my point though. Yojimbo was based off of Red Harvest, but then Yojimbo inspired Last Man Standing, and it kind of circles around. But it's those universal themes of the outsider coming in that really set the stage and inspire other things. Because while most people haven't read Red Harvest and maybe haven't seen Yojimbo, they may have seen Last Man Standing because they're Bruce Willis fans. Or somebody in Japan will have seen Yojimbo and not read Red Harvest. So you get my idea here that the circle of inspiration goes around. That's why there's no new ideas. Everything inspires something else. But it's that story theme elements that carry over well and inspire other things. Like obviously Yojimbo inspired Usagi Yojimbo, and that is influential in comics. So it's that those ideas that are lost because they're not looking at that literature. It's why a lot of stuff mimics Shakespeare now, but it doesn't have the same impact or themes because they don't study Shakespeare. They just read the Cliff Notes version or hear a synopsis of it, but they don't want to go read it because that'd be colonialism or some nonsense. And then next thing you know, their stuff sucks. And it looks like a cheap knockoff. It looks like somebody didn't read Shakespeare and then tried to copy it. Matt Jarbo said it's my fault because I'm evil. Well, he's a fucking idiot. Is he even a real person? Because I'm pretty sure that's a made-up persona I created. Huh, not a bad idea, Buster. When Captain Planet comes to save the day, he could be gay or pansexual. Yeah, well, that's probably coming down the line. Don't worry. Japanese watch company called Orient. Well, yeah, I mean, it is the Orient. To call them Oriental sort of kind of compares them to rugs, but it was just the phrasing of the time. And that's another thing, people like to put their modern perspective on eras past, and you can't do that. People are of their time, and they're raised in a culture with a specific mindset, and you really can't attribute your values to somebody that lived a very long time ago. I found apathy effective. Don't consume the product and just let it wilt and die on the vine. Yeah, more people need to do that. Really, seriously, go back and buy stuff from previous eras that you enjoy before it gets destroyed in memory hold. So anyway, after that 40-minute tangent that I just went on, wow, I got a little more fired up than I expected. Sorry about that. We're gonna go long today. So Dynamite, Barbarella, I have no interest in that. It could be good, but I don't think it is. Dynamite sucks. Red Sonja, I read the first issue of that. This is really mediocre. I'm probably not picking up issue 2. Red Sonja Black and White. I don't care about these black, white, and reds. They're dumb. Although that looks fun. Vampirella's not been good in a long time. So Dynamite, nothing. Boom Studios, Dark Blood, don't care. Dune House of Atreides, I'll pick that up. That's been pretty decent. Eat the Rich, stupid. Firefly, don't care. Good Luck, don't care. Once and Future, left this idea of Camelot, really lazy. So I'm going to get Dune. All right, graphic novels and comics. We've got Adventures of the Mad Czar, don't care. Apothecary Diaries, don't care. Ashes, don't care. Baby Teeth, stupid. I can't pronounce that, but it's got this chick on it, so I don't know. Might be good. It's anime. Barb the Last Berserker. The art looks like garbage. Barbaric. Somebody recommended this. I might check that out, but I'm not going to get the $8 black and white version. I'm going to try and find the first 2 issues. That one apparently is a low print run, so I haven't been able to find it yet. Hey, Road Dog. Ah, cool. Have fun, man. Beastars graphic novel. I don't care. Broken Souls, don't care. Bunny Mask, I'm going to pick that up. That's been a pretty decent series. It's weird, horror kind of thing. It's a little slow, but it seems interesting. I'll stick with it for probably 4 or 5 issues. If I'm not that into it by issue 6, I'll quit for sure. Certain Magical Index, that's obviously anime. I don't know anything about it. Chess, I'm going to check that out. That's been a pretty decent miniseries. Citizen, I don't care. Card Captor, never saw the show, don't care. Cold Dead War, I'd pick that up. Well, I already have issue 1 of that, but I'd pick up issue 4 if Heavy Metal hadn't pissed me off. But I'll probably get them used out of the discount bin. Because the first issue was decent. It's about undead fighter pilots. Combatants will be dispatched. I don't know anything about it. Cookie and Kid. That sounds like some kid eating cookies. Daily Lives of High School Boys. That's gay. That's got to be gay porn. Gotta be. Dangers in My Heart. That sounds like porn. Day on Fez. Don't care. Deadbeats London Calling Horror Anthology. I don't know. That might be good, but I kind of don't have a lot of faith in that. Dead Demons something Destruction. Don't care. Definitely Nat enough collection. I don't care about that at all. Dynamic Forces. I'm not paying you money for your autograph, weirdos. Disasters in History, collected graphic novels. I've heard that's okay, but it doesn't seem like my thing. I have history books. Don't Toy with Me in this Miss Nagatoro. It sounds hot. Drifting Dragons. Well, I like dragons, but that sounds like some porn. Dryad, don't care. Dungeon Earliers, don't care. Dungeon Zenith, don't care. Edgar Allan Poe, Snifter of Blood, stupid. Far Out Fables, Pied Piper, and Alien Invasion, don't care. Have a good night, Vanessa. Cool. Well, thanks for stopping in, and have fun. Good luck with the kids tomorrow. Still getting the Star Trek Year 5 comics. They keep delaying issues, but I don't really mind. Yeah, well, I hope you like it. I've heard it's good. I just didn't like the one storyline and cut it from the team. I don't have time for that or the money. Years of the Dead is a superior title compared to the 13th Warrior. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, much better as a book. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought, Oki. Ha. All right, let's see what else we got here. Fist of the North Star. Not really my thing, but it's pretty much a legend at this point. Foxtrot Collection. Deliciously Foxtrot. That's a comic strip collection, so I'm sure it's fine. God Killer, Tomorrow's Ashes, don't care. Gold Digger sucks. He Who Fights Monsters. I'm going to check this out. It's a World War II story about supernatural elements stopping or fighting with the Nazis from the sound of it. I'll check that out. Heaven's Design Team. Looks like some weird bestiality stuff. I don't know. I don't like the art. Hell's Paradise. Nah, I'm good. I Breathe the Body. Stupid. Impossible Jones. Catchy title, but I think I'll pass. The Empire or Impure. Empire sounded cooler. Impure, don't care. In another world with my smartphone. Looks cutesy. I don't know. Infinite Denigram Omnibus. It's got like sexy maids. I don't know. It's probably porn. Investigators box set. Don't care. John Carpenter Tales for a Halloween Night. That'll be fine. These are pretty good. If you like sci-fi horror stuff, you'll probably dig it. JoJo's Sweet Adventure. That sounds like real porn with candy canes and penetrations. Jonah and the Impossible Monsters. Don't care. Jungle Comics. Could have been a really cool title. Instead, they just kind of went mediocre with it. Knock 'em Dead. Don't care. Knights of the Dinner Table Bundle Trouble. It's funny if you're a gamer, but it's kind of got a limited shelf life. So not really my thing. Lady Freedom. I'll check that out. First 2 issues were pretty good. The art's definitely not my style, but the story was fun. Living Room, Matsunaga-san. What, they just bang in a living room? I don't know what that is. Love and Heart, that's a romance book, obviously. Megia Record. Stop putting fake words in there. Mason something Collector's Edition. That looks boring. Marginal Operation. I have no idea what that is. Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal. Don't care. It's stupid. And it'll be $10 in trade paperback. See, right here, $10 for the trade or $4 for the single issue. Coming out on the same day. That's why you only buy trades from artists, writers, and artisans. These are all just Netflix pitches anyway. Never buy their single issues when you can buy the entire trade instead of $4 a piece for 5 issues. Do the math. You're buying this a lot cheaper for $10. MFKZ, don't care. I don't really think that looks very interesting. Midnight Western Theater, not for me. My wife has no emotion. That's most relationships I've been in. Nugget and Dog, that looks really dumb. Other Boys, that sounds like gay porn. Parallel Paradise, that looks like straight porn. Peach Boy Riverside, that's really sounding like gay porn. Pulp Detectives graphic novel, not for me. Queer in Asia, not for me. Rent a Girlfriend, nice. Representation Immobilized, I don't care about your woke crap. Rosie in the Labyrinth, I know nothing about that. S Factor, this is about a reality show where a sidekick goes on to be like a bachelor. Looks really dumb. It's Action Lab. You'll notice a couple of these are Action Lab now that they got threatened with lawsuits and outed as a bunch of scumbags who don't pay their people. So the stuff's actually starting to come back out. Sankus Monstrous Appetite. I don't like the art style. Scout's Honor. Don't care. Stupid. Screaming Horror. I don't know anything about that one, but it's $6 for a comic. It's a little overpriced. Sir Vamp. It sounds like vampire stuff. Could be good. I don't know. Adventures in Aquaculture. Don't care. I'm a cat. Okay, you're a cat. Good job. Soulstream. Not interested. The art doesn't look good. Space Pirate Captain Harlock. It's very similar to the anime. So if you like the art style from the anime, you'll probably like this. It's just not for me. Starcrossed graphic novel. That's definitely a romance book. Star Wars Rebels graphic novel, volume 2. That's from Yen Press. I'm not interested. Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest. Not my thing. Sweat and Soap. That sounds like porn. Tarot Witch of the Black Rose. Again, that's like softcore pseudo porn. That's for like old dudes that don't understand how the internet works. That Wolf Boy Is Mine omnibus. Not interested. They're Not So Sweet Boys graphic novel. Is that a book about forced sex? That's gross. Thunder and Cluck. Brave Friend Leads Way. I don't like the art. Trailer Park Boys. I never got into the show. If you like the show, you'll probably like the comic. Nugget and Dog is that a midget bounty hunter? No, but that'd be funny. Queer in Asia. Yeah, they're not even trying anymore. What's this we call? I don't know. Queer in Asia? Most of these would be overpriced at $1.50. You're not wrong, dude. Train 8 Zombie Express. It's a knockoff of Train to Busan. It's zombies on a train. It's not that original, and it's not worth $5. Trouble Town. Squirrels do bad. That it looks like a kid's book. It's probably fine. Twittering Birds Never Fly. That kind of says a lot about the Twitter in itself. Like, if you spend too much time on there, you're probably not getting anything else done. Right, Dan Slott? Unwanted Dead Adventurer. That's a catchy title. Looks like fantasy stuff. Vampire the Masquerade. I'm going to pick that up. That series is pretty decent. Way of the House Husband. That's a catchy title, but do I really need 6 volumes about Mr. Mom? When will What's-His-Face make his move? That's obviously a romance book. Wonderland Annual, Reign of Madness. This is sort of like a Jabberwocky story with 2 queens. It's a prequel to like an Alice in Wonderland story from what I could tell. Looks pretty good, but I'm not going to pick it up. I don't really care about the overly fantasy stuff, but I might start checking them out just to see if they're worth it, because these are actually a lot better than most Marvel and DC stuff. So if you're looking for some fantasy stuff and you want an actual comic company that seems to care, Xenoscope's probably for you. Would you like to be a family? Is that a book about adoption? That's a weird title. Or is this about a dude who drives a panel van abducting children? Like, would you like to join our family? Wrestle Castle. That's an awesome title. Exo Man of War sucks. That's so far fallen from the 90s stuff. It's so sad. Tsuba graphic novel. I don't know what that is. So from the other stuff here, I've got Bunny Mask Chess. He Fights with Monsters #1, Vampire the Masquerade #10, and Lady Freedom #3. So it's going to be a fairly light week. Yeah, I've got 13 possibles written down here, probably only 10 of which I'll actually pick up. And this list has been getting lighter every week for months now. And the comic shop guy even asked me if I was having financial problems. I'm like, yeah, but that's not why. Getting tired of these zombies on this train, right? Buster, that's more thought than they put into their books most of the time now. Yeah, exactly, Pete. Get these motherfucking zombies off the motherfucking train. Better than most DC or Marvel stuff. Hey, you got to aim mid-range these days because you're not going to get anything spectacular. It's pretty rare you get a book that's actually great these days. Snakes in Space needs to be a comic. Yeah, they did a Snakes on a Train movie. I used to have it on DVD, and it was silly. Really, really dumb. Barely any visuals of the snakes because they were so fake. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's actually get into some news. Now that I've bitched and moaned it for like an hour. All right. Look at that in a minute. I'm going to have some videos coming out probably tomorrow. I was hoping to get them done today, but I got a little too busy. All right. Let's talk about Reba McEntire. This comes from WW. I don't even know. I got it from one of the aggregate sites I'm always checking. Aggregate sites are great because there's way less pop-ups. What's on the agenda now? We're going to talk some news. Random potpourri of stuff. Got some role-playing news, got a little bit of comic news, some movie news, and some celebrity nonsense. Do you have Netflix? Seen Kid Cosmic? I do not have Netflix, but my brother does. I could probably go over there. But I don't really watch Netflix. Ori, if you're interested in the Vampire the Masquerade book, go, if you have a comic shop near you, go check out their free comic book day leftovers. They did a reprint of the first issue for free. And the only thing that's missing is they had some role-playing stuff in the back of the first issue. And if you could get a free copy, then you'll know if you like it enough to go track down the trade paperback for the first story arc, which I think is the first 6 issues. It's pretty decent. It's generally not something I care about, but I kind of like it for some reason. Shall we have some news? No, not Bob Dole news, Merle. Sorry. Maybe indirectly. Did Graboids go after Reba? No, she had to be rescued. And we'll find out why. Reba McEntire had to be rescued by the fire department after a staircase collapsed in a building that she was touring. According to TMZ, the country icon and her boyfriend, Rex Lynn, that is the most country-sounding name I've ever heard. That dude should be a country singer. Rex Lynn. They were touring an old building in Atoka, Oklahoma, when it started to partially crumble and a staircase collapsed. How messed up is that? You're like, oh, we're thinking of buying this. Now we're trapped on the second floor. The building, which was over 100 years old, was being renovated and the stairs were on the docket to be replaced, the local official said. Reba and several others were on the second floor when the incident happened on September 14th. Why she was touring the building isn't known. Well, she's a celebrity. Like, hey, can I look around your house? But, oh, okay, whatever. There's also questions as to why anyone was let inside the building if officials knew the structure was compromised. Because people are stupid, that's why. And they'll be like, oh, sure, just be careful. As evidenced by the fact that the stairs were due to be replaced due to deficiencies. A local reporter videoed Reba being led down a ladder from a second-story window. Now, most people would find that embarrassing. I'd be like, I got to hang out with the fire department. No one was hurt, but apparently there were some bumps and bruises. Close call for Reba in Atoka, Oklahoma. Atoka, that's a cool name. I like that. I'm stealing that. Sure glad she and her boyfriend are okay. The reporter tweeted alongside a video of the rescue. While touring an old building, a staircase collapsed. There were among 7 people inside. If you know the staircase is not safe, 1 or 2 people is probably the most you really want to let up there. And there's probably like 5 fat dudes too. Toka's finest came to the rescue. No one was hurt, just some bumps and bruises. TMZ said 1 person was transported to the hospital with minor injuries, probably from flying debris. In addition to the second-story stairs, reports say the third-floor stairs also collapsed, trapping others higher up in the building. They were also rescued without much incident. So I'm glad everyone's okay, but that's a lesson when you're going into old abandoned houses. If you ever have to do that for a job or, I don't know, criminal activity, I guess, don't do that. But you got to be careful because the structures can fall apart really easily, especially stairs can be very deceptive as to how stable they are. Me and my buddy were ghost hunting. We had permission to be in this place, and his foot went through a floorboard right through the drywall. And or not drywall, the plaster on that was between the first and second floor, and his foot was dangling out on the first floor. Scared the bejesus out of one of the guys on the first floor. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. She's too old to have periods, Buster. It probably will be one of her next songs. Hate Camel with his long-term thinking. I'm going to get Reba in 10 years. Minor injuries. What's a minor injury to them? Probably just some banged up. Like when something collapses, you get little bits of wood and plaster and screws and stuff flying all over the place. So they probably got a couple of nicks and cuts from that. Part of a railing hit somebody probably. I don't know. What's a concussion or two, right? S6, he would know. Next 6 minutes. All right, so that's what happened with Reba. I thought it was worth covering. Well, let's talk about Vice Media, because they're stupid. We'll get this boring crap out of the way before we get to the really good stuff. All right, so Vice Media Union to top execs. Severance terms for laid off staffers are unconscionable. Why does Vice Media have a union? Like, that's where your money's going. It's really painful to see how the company has handled it this time. Fuck off, greedy. Man, you're weird looking. The Vice Media Union's Labor Management Committee. If you have enough people to form a management committee, you're probably already overpaid. Has requested the company improve its unconscionable severance terms for the 17 staffers at Vice Digital and Refinery 29 who were laid off in late August. In a letter sent to top executives, including Vice CEO Nancy Dubik, this week, the committee demanded that the media company increase its severance from 6 to 8 weeks to 9 to 12 weeks. They get 6 weeks of severance? And you want 9 to 12? Fuck off. You're lucky. Any job I've had where we got laid off, we were lucky to get 2 weeks. And you're getting 6 to 8 weeks. Shut up. You're already getting pretty good. Fuck off with that. Depending on the length of their employment and payout the former employees' unused paid time off. Unused paid time off, that's fine. I think they should pay that. Provisions that the union committee were given to U.S. staffers during Vice's previous round of layoffs. Well, this is not the previous round. This is current. They probably don't have the money. Vice willingly met these terms last year during the peak of the pandemic. Well, that's winding down. Go get a different job. There's lots of people hiring. McDonald's is hiring all the time. While the advertising industry and Vice's own revenue were cratering, well, if the revenue is cratering, how can they afford to give you more money? It's unconscionable that the company will not meet those same terms while the pandemic is still raging and federal unemployment benefits are no longer available. That's not their job to compensate you because the federal unemployment benefits are no longer there. Why do you think you're owed this money? But Vice's business has recovered and is doing better than ever, according to your own assessments of the company-wide emails. Oh, company-wide emails are what I like to call great works of fiction. They will always tell you the company's doing great up until the day they lock the doors, and you're not told until you show up to work and there's a security guard there and a chained door. They will always spin it in the most lovingly beautiful, flowery language of, oh, everything's great, while they're stealing all the staplers for themselves. A thing we used to call profit sharing. They were at shaky ground even before they formed a union. Yeah, exactly. They're just bleeding money. The reason you're not getting more severance is probably because of the union, quite honestly. You got 2 weeks for every year at the company, so 30 weeks. Guess that was good. I really had no idea at the time. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Sadly, that's probably about average. That's what my experience has been. Mother nearly fell out through a floor of a place my dad was helping tear down. Damn. Wow, dude, that's horrifying, Kyler. Oh, yep. Haven't done this in a while. If you're watching the show, be sure and like, share, and subscribe. If you love or hate the content, I don't care. If you'd like to support the channel, there's my Streamlabs link. Thank you to everybody that's been donating. It's greatly appreciated. If they tell you they're going under, you won't work as much. That's exactly true. That's why they do it. But you have to pay attention to the signs. When they start doing weird cutbacks in strange areas, like, oh, we're not going to order as many supplies this month, or you're having trouble getting staples and they don't seem to want to order them, that's when there's little red flags like that. And you have to watch that. If you've been through enough company closures, you know the warning signs, or at least you should. And the company is always going to put a positive spin on it. The committee also took issue with the optics of Vice receiving $135 million in new funding a week after the layouts were announced. That's because of probably laying off a bunch of people that were problematic, like union members, as well as how 15 of 17 former staffers were laid off were women. They don't really care. I'm sorry. They're not laying you off because you're a woman. They're laying you off for a different reason. You're probably difficult. because they have to make selections and cuts from different areas. It may just happen that the department they were cutting happened to have more women, or you have a disproportionate number of women already working there. So yeah, then statistically it would be more women, including 2 on maternity leave. Well, they were on maternity leave, so it was pretty easy decision, I imagine. Refinery 29, which was heavily impacted by the layoffs, has a staff largely comprised of women. Right there it is. So, of course, if they're largely comprised of women, more women are going to be disproportionately affected. That's a ludicrous argument to make, is that, well, it affected women more. Well, if you have more women working there, then yeah, that's who's going to get laid off. And the people on maternity leave are going to get cut, just like people that are really sick end up getting cut because they're costing the company money when they're not there. Responding to the Labor Committee on Thursday, Haight countered that the severance terms were in line with the collective bargaining agreement and included extra provisions like Vice-covered COBRA subsidies. Oh my God, they paid COBRA? COBRA! Not that COBRA, the medical insurance. Allowing employees who are on leave to remain on payroll for their remaining leave period. Yeah, COBRA is very expensive. That's your health insurance. It's one of the subsidy health insurances you can buy. I'm sure some of you guys already know this. Toilet paper is definitely a key warning, which, by the way, if you think your company's going under, you could have a lifetime supply of toilet paper if you do it right. And trash bags. But if they're paying COBRA, they're basically paying you several weeks worth because that stuff's expensive. These are not things that the VMG are obligated to do, but instead were done for the purpose of further assisting laid-off employees with their transition from the organization. Yeah, that's actually really cool. She also denied that the layoffs targeted employees from protected classes. I doubt they were. And said Vice had worked hard with an independent counsel to ensure no group of individuals is disproportionately impacted. Yeah, Vice is very, very woke, so I'm sure they didn't target specific groups. Last month, as Vice began a change in strategy, emphasizing videos and visual storytelling, Haight told staffers in a memo announcing promotions and success metrics on social media that the layoffs were part of a global alignment happening across Vice media. They're eliminating redundancies. People that were on maternity leave, well, that's easy to cut them. And then you cut people from departments that aren't going to match up with their new vision. So they're probably cutting people from like print marketing or web stuff. If they're going more toward video, this makes sense. Once it fell through the floor of a barn, Jesus. Landed in a pile maneuver. What? Wow. Geez, TOS, that's nuts. Long-term Cobra La. No, probably not. Former member of the Vice Union who was impacted by the August layoffs acknowledges job cuts were an unfortunate reality. See, this person understands of the media industry, but described the latest round as disheartening. Well, yeah, it's always disheartening when you get your job cut. Duh. The majority of us have been around to witness the previous round, so it's very painful to see how the company has handled its time. Vice regularly publishes great reporting on unions and labor movement, but regarding how the company and management treated these layoffs, you really start to doubt whether those core values actually extend from what's on the page to the company's that. Well, of course it doesn't, you idiot. Why would they do that? Why would they start implementing stuff that's going to hurt their bottom line? They still have to pay off the loans, their shareholders, all that stuff. They're still going to run it like a business. They could say one thing all day, but they're going to do something else behind the scenes. That's stupid. Oh, thank you, Rodline. Got our monthly bribe. I mean, stimulus for having a kid. Have some of Uncle Sam's free money. Shh, it's really from taxes. Don't tell anyone. Oh, thanks, Rodline. I appreciate that. I don't think you can write me off, but, maybe. But thanks, man. I appreciate it. So, and if you already knew there were previous rounds of cuts, because they just did this in August, if you see people getting laid off and you are a survivor, start saving money. Cut back on your expenses as much as possible because you have to assume you're in the next round. That's the safest thing to do. Be smart about it. Start banking as much money as you can. Cut down on going out. Cut out your Starbucks. Quit smoking. Whatever you got to do, start saving as much money as possible. Because you have to assume that you're next and you can't count on any possible severance. Even if you know you're getting one, don't rely on that. Try and have a cushion of at least 2 months worth of rent and all that. I would actually say 6 months, but that's pretty unrealistic these days, unfortunately. But save as much money as you can. And the fact that these people seem shocked by this is insane to me. But that way, when you get your 6 to 8 weeks of severance, you'll have probably double that on hand to be prepared for the job seeking aspects, because it's going to be difficult to find another job in something similar. And if you're doing like written blog stuff like Vice does on their website, a lot of that stuff's going away. People are moving more toward video. So you have to assume that if you're in the section that seems to be getting downsized, you better save cash. And it's going to be difficult to find another job. So you want to have as much cash on hand as possible. Pay your rent in advance, that sort of thing. Be prepared to downsize your life according to what's coming. To be flat-footed by this is foolish. So you should have expected this coming when they announced they were going to do this before the layoffs. And whenever there's announcing big changes in the company like that, like, oh, we're going more toward video, assume that your print job is now going to be redundant in some way and start banking some money and try and make yourself more marketable. Find out how you can get in on what they're doing so that you don't get cut because now you're valuable. That's just dumb. That's just basic job stuff. Yeah, I forgot that, Buster. There's labor shortage, so it should be hard to find a job. But you forget, Peter, a lot of these people think they're above low pay work or fast food, that sort of thing, because that's beneath them. Talk a big game until they have personally pay the price. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. When the chips are down, people will react differently than they preach, more often than not. Especially people with certain questionable ethics. One of your salary and checking into and savings, if cash in safe as well. That's the way to do it, old guy. Always be prepared for a disaster. It's just something you should have learned at like 10 years old in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. Prepare for a disaster. Disaster preparedness is essential. Whether you're talking about living in a floodplain or losing your job, try and save some money so you have a cushion when things go to shit. Have food on hand. Have a couple weeks of food in the cabinet in case there's a natural disaster, whether it's a snowstorm or the power goes out or whatever, or you lose your job, you still can eat. It's just little stuff like that. Cut your life back so you're living below your means. I sound like somebody's dad. I don't have kids. Why am I telling you guys? You should all know this. Yeah, exactly, Peter. You're not wrong. Young people have a great chance to go out and get jobs right now that pay really well. Fast food places around me are paying $14-15 a piece and giving sign-on bonuses. You'll get $200. You'll get 100 after 30 days, another 100 after 60 days. It's actually a really good time to get a job. Nope, Merle, I'm not mentioning that. I'm not even reading that out loud. Then Hurricane Michael hit. Exactly. That it'll wipe you out. Trust me, I've been through it. I'm borderline financially wiped out because something that happened almost 10 years ago. Prepare to give hand jobs for crack. Yeah, that's always an opportunity too, I guess. Yeah. Maternity leave for almost 2 months when she was informed she was getting laid off. You got 2 months of maternity leave? Wow. Man, I should have got in at some of these places. They have great benefits. The one place I worked gave the chicks 6 weeks. And they were like, you better, that was generous. They usually only gave 4. And they're like, you better show up. When the company contacted me, I was literally in the middle of breastfeeding. Oh, ew. Why would you tell us that? It's heartbreaking to hear your baby cry for your attention when you have to be on the phone call or your laptop due to a situation that's beyond your control that was created by others. I don't know how much blame you can shift there. Now she has to struggle both being a new mom and beginning the job hunt again and hope Vice can approve its severance package for those let go. You're probably not going to get any more money. Banking on that's foolish. And you made your choice about being a mom. That's a choice nowadays, apparently. And beginning the job hunt, well, do you have a husband you can fall back on or a partner? Because that might help. As for being a mom and on the job hunt, that sucks, but I'm sorry, that's life. Whatever will be, will be. You have to plan for this stuff. You should have assumed. You have to assume if you're going on maternity leave, you should be banking those paychecks, and you'd have that money if you needed it. Because a lot of people get paid maternity leave, so you have to save up for that and plan ahead. And that seems to be something that a theme I've noticed lacking these days is lack of forethought. Because like these people didn't plan ahead. The Marvel comics writers don't seem to plan ahead for how their storylines are impacting the characters in the long term. Same with DC and all these others. And it seems to be a general theme with, I don't know, 40 and under, is there's no sense of long-term planning involved. What they have offered me is not enough for me to focus on being a new mother rather than job hunting. It's important for me to successfully transition back to work as a working mother. Oh, these are your choices, not theirs. If you were single or didn't have a kid, then you wouldn't have these problems. But you decided to have a baby, and you should have planned ahead and saved more money. Your lack of planning does not make an emergency for me. And I know that's harsh, but life's tough. And people need to start hearing the harsh realities of it. The state sent me a letter saying they overpaid me and want nearly $3,000 back. Oh, fuck that. That sucks. The sad part is they'll probably find a way to get it. Wow. That's weird. All right, let's find something that's a little bit more upbeat. Or not. Let's do this one. There's not a lot of upbeat news this week. There's some interesting stuff that we will get to, though. All right, so Predator 5 finished filming. This comes from Bounding Into Comics. Whoa. Oh, noes. There we go. Predator 5 cinematographer announces film is wrapped, confirms Amber Midthunder will star as the lead. According to a recent Instagram post, Predator 5, subtitled Skulls, has not only officially wrapped, but will star Amber Midthunder in its lead role. Yeah, we heard about that previously. Film cinematographer Jeff Cutter revealed these two facts in a now removed Instagram post, which we managed to grab a screenshot of prior to its deletion. Yeah, okay. It looks like a tree. I can see the boom. And that's a wrap on Skulls. Can't thank Danny T enough for inviting me along on this epic journey and entrusting me to help achieve his vision for the film. Thanks to a great cast led by Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, and Dee. As much love to a brave Calgary crew for diving headfirst in with us. Oh, it's filmed in Calgary. That should look really cool then. They probably made him take it down because he wasn't authorized to release that. I continued. Oh, yep, I just read that. Batman vs. Predator. I have to reread them. I got them around here somewhere. Commenting on Cutter's post, some guy whose name I can't pronounce wrote, "Was a pleasure being your Sasquatch," a possible tease for his role in Skulls, which many have speculated will be, rather predictably, given his standing as a tall former basketball player, the next intergalactic headhunting Utuja. One such speculator is YouTuber Mr. H Reviews, as revealed in his coverage of the story. Mr. H adds there's a possibility What's-His-Face could play a bear, since it's been established Skulls has men in suits play furry woodland creatures. What now? However, he does not think such a role would be likely for What's-His-Face, again taking into account the athlete turned actor's towering height. Now, okay, I'll get to my commentary in a second. The actor's Sasquatch comment could be misdirection, but it could also be truth. It may end up that he's playing a Bigfoot and may even square off with the Predator, a showdown which any fan of these films will undoubtedly love to see. I would watch a movie that's Predator versus Sasquatch, hands down. Newcomer Dakota Beavers' part is another story. As with the film's plot and permanent dirt mostly under wraps, the actor's exact role is unknown, but Mr. H theorizes he will star as one of Midthunder's character's brothers. Okay. I don't know who this guy is. Oh, hello. It's also believed Midthunder will play a maverick Native American female, either during the early American history or just prior to it, which doesn't respond to her culture's gender norms or common conceptions of what makes a true warrior. Girl power, so progressive. That would be stupid if they do that. That's been the rumor for a while, and it's dumb. Since she is the lead, it's logical to guess she runs afoul of an alien stalker on the prowl and might be one of the first humans ever to do so. Maybe. She's cute. Also, on the I don't really care about the camera guy. Yeah, there's a legal battle going on. I'm surprised this actually got filmed. But it's supposed to be expected to release 2021 on Hulu, so it should be out soon. It seems like it was kind of a rushed production, so I don't know how well this is going to go over, but especially because they're releasing it directly to Hulu. But she's cute. Don't know anything about that guy. But if they have an actual Sasquatch fight Predator, I will watch the fuck out of that. What I think would be interesting is if they did, if you're going to do an American Indian storyline, it's going to be kind of tough to fight an actual Predator, so you make them werewolves. Or you get a Wendigo in there. Like, get some real mythological shit. A Thunderbird would be badass. But no, they're going to make it some gender nonsense hokey shit. Yeah, it involves furries. Because it's dudes in furry suits. That's stupid. And, oh, she goes against gender norms. Why would she do that? She was raised in that culture. She would understand her place as a woman within their society. If they have women warriors, that's one thing. But most Indian tribes, I don't think, had that. Did they? Yeah. Yeah, Wendigos, right? Be badass. You could have Wendigos and Sasquatches and all sorts of cool stuff. There's awesome legends you could use. Shapeshifters were abound in the American mythology all across the land. So, yeah, I think most tribes had some sort of shapeshifters you could go with, whether it was a Wumpus or a Wendigo or something awesome like that. Werewolves, they had all kinds of people that could shift skin. Yeah, skinwalkers. You could have shamans that do all kinds of crazy cool shit. I would even make it really cool and set it in like Greenland, and the predators come down to hunt the Indians, and the Indians team up with the Vikings, and they have an awesome multicultural team up to fight the fucking predators. I'd watch the shit out of that. Vikings and Indians? You couldn't get much cooler than that. Talk about badass. No. Exactly, Peter. But, Sasquatch fighting predator. No, I didn't say potato. Sorry, BG. When to go to the polls. And the only humans left are midgets. Oh, if they had a midget Indian, oh man, that'd be awesome. And no, to kill skinwalker, Wendigos, and Wumpuses, Sasquatch can be reasoned with. Most Sasquatches will leave you alone. There are violent encounters with them, according to some of the accounts, but not very often. And usually people are pissing them off. There's a Skinwalker Ranch TV show, Buster. That's when it goes and they're fucking awesome. Right? And they're cannibals, too. Gay cowboy to meet the agenda. No, fuck that. No agendas. She'd be wearing a little beaver skin pelt. Yeah, she would. Predator versus Mothman. I'd watch the shit out of that, too. Predator versus Mothman and Bigfoot. Yeah, you can't tell me that movie won't be badass. There's no way. That it would be awesome. I am half chubbed up thinking about it. You're welcome, world. I know you needed to know that. Let's see. Okay, an article Becca sent me last week that I didn't get to. Predator versus Pelosi. For what? Wrinkles? Which one's more hideous? I would definitely settle for Cyber Sasquatch from $6 Million Man, Jim. Yeah, I'd watch that too. If they had $6 Million Man versus Predator, I would absolutely own that movie on Blu-ray and DVD and probably 4K. And I don't even have a 4K TV. The Jersey Devil and Goatman. Yeah, you could get the whole crowd in there, man. Get some serious myths going. Get the Loveland Frogman, get Champ in there. Have the Frogman riding Champ like it's a pony. I'd watch that. Chupacabras, yeah. Sure, Blunt in a six-pack with a Sasquatch. Yeah, why not? Predator versus AOC, that'd be a short fight. Should talk him to death. All right. So, from the New York Post, first Spider-Man comic sells for a historic $3.6 million at auction. The comic book that debuted Queens-friendly neighborhood Spider-Man was auctioned off for a record-selling $3.6 million Thursday. This is from last week. The 1962 Marvel issue Amazing Fantasy number 15 was sold at Heritage Auctions, Signature Comics, and Comic Art, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Before all the clones, symbiotes, and civil wars, we see Spider-Man in a simpler time doing what he does best, catching crooks and saving the day. It was written by Stan Lee, penciled by Steve Ditko, and saw Jack Kirby collaborate on the cover. The print of Amazing Fantasy, which features a cover of Peter Parker, the teenager, shocking the world as the web slinger, is known to be one of the 4 near-mint copies of the comic with a certified guarantee company rating of 9.6. That is a beautiful shape. So, yeah, $3 million, almost 4. Paved the way for Spider-Man and, of course, many, many other superheroes. Fantastic Four and Spider-Man really led the way on that. But that's a nice chunk of change for one comic book. Australians fight werewolves often. Oh, I know they're beating down some Yowie and bunyips out there, but there's all kinds of crazy shit on the outback. All right, this article is really short because, well, you'll find out in a second. This one comes from Screen Rant. Moon Girl, why some people hate Marvel's smartest character? Because she's annoying. Short. That could have been a paragraph long. She's supposed to be the smartest and bestest ever at 9 years old. She's smarter than Mr. Fantastic. No, she's a stupid Mary Sue character, and she's annoying. That's why. She's from 2015, and she met Devil Dinosaur, traveled in time because he used to hang out with Moon Boy. Source of the hatred comes from the fact that Moon Girl can have a rather condescending and arrogant attitude, like most modern comic characters they create. Well, maybe born from a fear that she has no place in the world as a young super intellect. No, she's annoying. She's annoying, she's pushy, she's arrogant, and she's always talking down to everybody. And Mr. Fantastic is smarter than her. He's supposed to be the smartest one ever. And they've always supplant the male geniuses with better female geniuses. And it's really, really obnoxious. She's stupid and annoying. There you go, Screen Rant. Answered your question for you. Now let's talk about... let's do some sad news real quick. Get that out of the way. In sad news, we lost comic legend Norm McDonald, influential comedian and NSL Weekday Update anchor, was 61. This is from Deadline. Norm McDonald, he made observational humor, very deadpan. Laughed at his own jokes a lot, which I always respect because I do that too. Died after a 9-year battle with cancer. He was 61. And it was a private battle. He didn't publicize it like a lot of people would to try and get self-pity points or jobs. His death was announced by Deadline to Deadline by his management firm, Burlstein Entertainment. The comedian's longtime producing partner and friend, Lori Jo Hoekstra, who was with him when he died, said McDonald had been battling cancer for nearly a decade, but was determined to keep his health struggle private, away from family, friends, and fans. He was most proud of his comedy. He never wanted the diagnosis to affect the way the audience or any of his loved ones saw him. Yeah, that's true with most people that get illnesses like that. Norm was a pure comic. He once wrote that a joke should catch someone by surprise. It should never pander. That is great advice. He certainly never pandered. Norm will be terribly missed. If you don't know who Norm McDonald is, you should look him up. Very funny man. And it's a loss to comedy because he's one of the few that didn't go full on woke. So, yeah, it's a real shame. And I'm sorry about his struggle with cancer that he kept to himself. That's a harsh thing to deal with, and took a lot out of him. So, rest in peace, Norm. All right, let's do something that's less depressing. All right, let's do some gaming news. As you guys know, I used to do a lot of tabletop role-playing and board games. Still do board games occasionally. And this comes from Bounding into Comics. The gaming goat condemned by a tabletop role-playing community for being accused of using a white supremacist symbol in new tournament fishing game. Look at that evil frog. So much white supremacy in a green frog. They must hate Kermit. After a simple painting of a frog led the gaming goat to be accused of using a white supremacist symbol to promote their new title, Tournament Fishing. A number of tabletop RPG developers have since chosen to believe said accusation and publicly condemn the publisher. It's a fishing game, you assholes. Like what about this? Okay. The backlash against the publisher's newly announced fishing-based deck-building game began shortly after its Kickstarter campaign went public on August 7th, when the Dice Tower TTRPG website contributor Suzanne Sheldon drew attention to how there's a game on Kickstarter being run by the publisher who just threatened to make me a good time, who's got a frog throwing a white power symbol on the rulebook cover. Okay, so they threatened to make me a good time. You know, entertainment is supposed to be a good time. Perhaps that's what they were telling you, you stupid, crazy bitch. Drawing comparisons between the artwork in question and the exaggerated use of Pepe the Frog and the OK hand symbol, man, every scuba diver must be the biggest white supremacist. Sheldon tweeted, just awful. If you don't get the symbology being used here, you've missed the last 5 years. Yeah, the last 5 years of you being insane. The frog is not making an OK sign, you crazy bitch. That's its hands. Weird. Just, seeing phantoms everywhere. It's like insane pareidolia. 100% this image was intentionally to trigger the libs, Sheldon continued. Have they ever done this before? Turning to call on her Twitter followers to report tournament fishing for its perceived use of a hate symbol. Perceived use. That's an interesting way of saying you're nuts. She added, so be it. They can laugh at me being upset at their racist BS all they want. If you want to report a project, click the report button. Fuck off. Getting people canceled because you're seeing stuff that's not there, you lunatic. Meanwhile, Evil Hat Productions doesn't want your money because they have thirsty sword lesbians. These people are nuts. Look, there's a reasonable chance that Kickstarter will make them change that image to keep the campaign going. So Kickstarter is going to make them change the cover of their rule book because you don't like it. Fuck you, you power mad psycho. These people are crazy. Should be noted that Sheldon's comment that the gaming goat threatened to make her a good time refers to a recent post by publisher's CEO Jeff Bergeron as part of an ongoing spat between the two. Yeah, she sounds like a lunatic. On August 29th, Bergeron shared a screenshot on his Facebook of a tweet made by Sheldon in which she asserted, as part of the ongoing Twitter conversation, Considering who Bergeron is and his history in the industry, I'd be surprised if he didn't reply with a shitty take demonstrating his continuing shittiness. You sound like a pleasant person. So many people that I've talked to talked also. That you only need one of these here. In my life, posting fun things on the internet, their friends slandered someone for not wearing a mask in a photo. While all of them have photos without masks, that political party affiliation rides hard. Well, you're just assuming he's of a certain political bent. I guess if you have no other significance in the world, then this is the leg you stand on. Yeah, she seems like a fucking nut job, and he doesn't sound unreasonable here. My history is fucking slaying 24/7, 365, and ignoring kids throwing rocks from the bottom of the mountain. Don't attack my friends. Cheers. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. She sounds like an insane, crazy leftist. Oh, look at even her fucking picture looks smug. Ugh. In a reply to Berger and another individual, Dwight somebody sarcastically stated, "This person looks like they're a lot of fun at parties." To which Berger answered, "I bet only us could make her fun at a party. You down for the challenge?" Yeah, they don't mean they're gonna force anything on you, stupid bitch. That sounds like a sarcastic thing, like we're gonna make fun of her, and then everybody will laugh, and then she'll be the fun at the party. Shoot me the ping, I'll bring a box of cats. Assumingly referring to an inside joke, but no, they're saying she's a crazy cat lady, you stupid idiots. At some point following Sheldon's tweets, a caption was added underneath the image of the frog at the Kickstarter page, which cheekily read, "This is Bob the Frog. Bob is A-OK. Bob the Frog does not have a hateful bone in his body and loves everyone." All right, that's kind of funny. I don't know. Look, I could see how you could think that's an okay sign, but that's dumb. It's a fucking frog. It doesn't look anything like Pepe. And not every okay sign is a white supremacist power sign, you fucking crazy people. God, these people are insane. As Sheldon's accusation began to spread across social media because people have way too much free time, it eventually spawned its own topic thread on the popular TTRPG for... No, it's just RPGs. Tabletop was first. Video games came after. VG RPG. RPGs are tabletops. Accept it. Forum Board Game Geeks, wherein tournament fishing project manager Matthew Ryan eventually responded to the backlash and explained, "I can assure you there is no ill will or intent with any of our art images." I saw that and I didn't think there was. "Well, I don't see anyone leave the campaign if you want to cancel your pledge and are unhappy. I completely understand that is 100%. Obviously, you're right. That's unreasonable." Oh my God, that real life frog is doing it. That's real life Pepe. What is wrong with you? You see this shit everywhere you go. Reaching out to the artist, Ryan later shared the reference photos used in the creation, and look at that. He drew it exactly as pictured. There's the frog's hands, and it looks like it's making an Oakley Dokley. However, though he noted hundreds of people look at all the art in the game, and this was not something that was noticed by anyone, because not everybody's a fucking lunatic. Ryan then announced, "Now that it has been brought to our attention, we will change the card art." No, stick to your fucking guns. Stop being a pussy. Don't change and capitulate every time some lunatic thinks they see something that they find offensive. They extrapolate based on their weird mental gymnastics and mental illness that they have to see this nonsense everywhere. They'll just continue to do it. They'll be, "No frogs. We have to eradicate all frogs because all frogs are representative of Pepe." You fucking weirdos. Yet, despite the explanation, the Gaming Goat still received condemnation from their RPG peers, as many designers and developers refused to accept the artwork was anything but a Nazi dog whistle. Ugh. You people must be boring in real life. On Board Game Geek, Badgers from Mars designer Andy Richdale announced that the developer had exercised its right to end its licensing agreement with TGG Games that will come into effect later this year. The reason for this inappropriate behavior that Jeff has displayed when communicating with others in the hobby. What? I didn't see him do anything wrong. He just shot back at somebody that came after him. But then again, for them, that is a problem because how dare you respond to a woman? Further comments in response to concerns raised around their latest Kickstarter campaign have been unacceptable to us and failed to meet even the minimum standard we would expect from an industry professional. Everyone must bend the knee. Kowtow, bitch. We truly hope that Jeff gets an opportunity to reflect on recent events and come to an understanding of why these comments are unacceptable, and you're going to punish him like he's a fucking serf because you can. On Twitter, Mr. Cabbage Head Garden Developer, okay, I take you super serious, Ludi Creations wrote racist statements and actions, explicit or implied threats. I haven't seen any of those. Abusive and aggressive behavior or something that we condemn and deplore, whether it's in social media or in person. Yet you're creating a cabal of people to destroy their business. That's interesting. We do not want to be part of any community or business relationship where these are tolerated and taken lightly. Okay, bye. So to be clear, we will not have any further relationship with anyone making light of white supremacy and its signals, no matter how subtle or non-existent, apparently. They showed you the photograph they used as a reference, you idiots. Cauldron and Unbroken creator Artem Safarov simply declared that he would be withdrawing from a solo game designed to be published next year by TGG Games. As a result, he believed was a dismissive, defensive reaction to the issue of white supremacy / frog image. Frogs are not white supremacists. What the fuck are you talking about? On the tournament fishing campaign. I kind of want to buy this game now. For the record, I am not fully confident that the image was accidental. Of course not, because you're a fucking delusional weirdo. The reaction, however, made light of the issue because it's stupid, and it was a missed opportunity to understand the connection. What connection? It was a photograph of a frog. Acknowledge the threat of white supremacy. What? Where? Where's the threat? There's like 10,000 members of the Aryan Nation. Pretty sure that's easy to contain. They're not in a position of power. And denounce it loudly and boldly. I didn't see them say anything opposite to that. Ultimately, on September 11th, the Gaming Goat took to Tournament Fishing's Kickstarter campaign to address the frustrations about the image and gaming response. It was never our intent to offend anyone. We do not tolerate or support any form of racism. You did nothing wrong. Stop apologizing. TGG Games prides itself in creating games with diverse characters that promotes inclusivity. It's a game about fishing. We try to value any chance to make the game better with not only stretch goals, but also with community feedback. We look forward to continuing the campaign with excitement and positivity. That's in their update. John Delarose responded with the backlash, stating the only way to deal with this is to have humor. If you have humor, the SGWs lose every time. That's true, because they go crazier. Because you're going to live your life to the fullest. You're going to have fun. You're going to have a good time, and anybody who wants to have a good time with you. Yeah, they would be doing... it's probably going to hurt them in the short term, but in the long term, standing up to these people is the only way you're going to survive. They're going to find insane things everywhere you go. And unfortunately, that seems to be the problem here. They took a random image that had nothing to do with anything, and they're like, oh, it's a frog. It must be white supremacy. Shut up. The people like Suzanne who want to create anger, hostility, and division in the board game industry, in the sci-fi industry, and the comics industry, they're going to lose at the end of the day, and they know it. No, they're going to destroy the industries. And that's why they're so miserable. They want to drag everybody else down with them. Yeah, that's true. They do. They want everybody to be as unhappy and unsuccessful as they are. Apparently, he's got a video on this. Yep, so that's kind of it. See if this Kickstarter campaign is still going. Hopefully, I'm not logged in. I don't want you seeing my address. Oh, yep. That's true, Buster. He's a unit figure. Yeah, well, they had to pick something. I'll do the Cthulhu article next. They have to pick something. Is this live? They have to find things that people like and destroy them. And it doesn't matter if it's an innocuous picture of a frog or something else. Yeah, it says 20 days to go. Looks like they made their goal, but if you guys want to support them, I'll drop this link in chat. I'm free from work and heading home. Congratulations, Demon. The game is divide and conquer. Absolutely. They want to fractionalize people so they can't do anything. I don't know. It's a fishing game. It's a deck building fishing game. That actually intrigues me. 1 to 4 players, 30 minutes to an hour and 20, 14 and up. Yeah, the imagery looks really good, actually. Look at that fish. That looks like a spotted bass. So, it's got a exclusive tackle box kind of thing. Oh, that's cool looking. All right, $40. That's not bad for a deck building game. That's actually not bad at all. You get a lot in there too. $55. You get the above perks, an expansion pack. $100 one, you get the wooden box. That's pretty cool. And a play mat, wooden dice, removable insert, plus 8-pack of Paladin card sleeves. All right, that's cool. Card sleeves are very important when you're playing deck games. Then you got a retailer's pledge. Yeah, this looks pretty cool, actually. It's a shame they got so much bullshit over a non-issue. Yeah, I kind of want to support it on principle. Well, if you don't want to support them on Kickstarter, it will be released to the public at some point through retail stores, so you can buy it then. Or you could get it from their website, I imagine. But yeah, this is offensive because they're just looking for crap to get mad about. And it's dumb. This is really, really stupid and petty. People want to tell you what to do and how to live because they think they can bully you. All right, let's talk about Call of Cthulhu. I'm a big Call of Cthulhu fan. I love the game. Played it a lot in college and after college. I think I might have played it a few times in high school too. All right, so this is from Dicebreaker. Call of Cthulhu marks the horror RPG's 40th anniversary with a new Keeper rulebook. A limited edition tome includes designer commentary and return of a classic scenario. That is a pretty cool looking cover. It was released originally in 1981 by Chaosium, the publisher that built its game of Lovecraft monsters and cults and mystery on the basic role-playing system previously used in RuneQuest. Like the earlier fantasy RPG, Call of Cthulhu used percentile rolls calculated with D100 or 2 10-sided die to resolve tests with the characters, improving their skills as they used them. The horror RPG theme rooted in the Cthulhu mythos and punishing gameplay. Talk about don't get attached to your characters, which saw players' human characters become infamously fragile academics and investigators, unlike the heroic adventures of D&D. Helped to gain a cult following that spawned 7 editions of the core RPG and a number of spin-offs. Among the more notable descendants of Call of Cthulhu is the board game Arkham Horror, which later grew into the separate Arkham Horror Files franchise and standalone tabletop RPGs such as Trail of Cthulhu, and Delta Green that began as licensed spin-offs. Delta Green was cool because then you got to play like FBI agents and you could do X-Files type stuff. The 40th anniversary Keeper rulebook, Call of Cthulhu's equivalent to the DMG, named for the keepers that run the game, will feature the game's core rules alongside a variety of extra content marking the occasion. The limited edition rulebook will also see a visual revamp with leatherette cover and dust jacket, plus new end papers inside its covers. Among the additions will be commentary and recollections from the designers, writers, and contributors from Call of Cthulhu's early days. The tome will also reintroduce The Haunting, a scenario previously included in the first 6 editions of Call of Cthulhu before being removed in its latest 7th edition rulebook released in 2014. The scenario was included in 7th edition's Quick Start rules. The Quick Start rules originally were free, and then when they blew out of them at the game stores, they were like $10 a piece, and you had to buy like the PDF for $5. It was dumb. But the scenario was in there, and that made it worthwhile. Chaosium said the 40th anniversary Keeper rulebook will be in limited availability with a pre-launch at Gen Con this week before an official release date next month. Price is yet to be announced. Considering the core books are about $50 a piece, I expect this to be about $100. And it's really nice looking too. See if I can get it enlarge that. Yeah, this leatherette cover is really nice looking. The commentary in the original scenario would be cool to have too. So there's always that. So this should be pretty cool. If you're a role-playing fan, Call of Cthulhu is definitely worth checking out. System's really smooth, I think. I tweak it a lot though, so there's that. But this could be worth checking out if you're a diehard fan. Ah, where's my mouse? There it is. Let's see. All right, let's talk about a little bit of hypocrisy. Why did that start doing that? Okay. All right. This comes from Bounding into Comics. Shang-Chi actor Simu claims media narratives are polarizing us. He advocated for dismantling the police and pushed systemic racism theory. So everybody's dividing us, but I'm also part of the problem. That dude looks like he does not want to be there. Shang-Chi actor recently responded to reports that the film will more than likely not release in China following resurfaced comments of him criticizing the communist rule of China. If you recall, a communist organization called DIBA posted screenshots from a CBC interview from Liu that was published back in 2017. We talked about this last week, and he referred to it as living in the third world. He's talking about his parents' experience. Stop jumping. Shang-Chi film was already on rocky ground when it came to release in China. As a report following from May by Variety's Rebecca Davis noted, the film had been omitted from a list of the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4 films. Variety's Rebecca Davis explained why the omission was significant. The omission might be small, but it's significant. It lies in his province. The channel is under the jurisdiction of China's powerful propaganda department, which has final rule on approvals. Not only will the film unlikely get a release back, was the film unlikely to get a release back in May, but CNBC reported at the beginning of September that Shang-Chi is the first Marvel movie that has not been approved by the Chinese government for distribution in the country. Oh, Eternals is probably going to make that list too. The reason for Shang-Chi reportedly not getting released is the depiction of the character's villain, Wen Wu, played by Tony Leung. The comics on which the film was based is considered racist and filled with reductive stereotypes. Wen Wu's a mashup of Marvel villains, the Mandarin and Fu Manchu. They're actually the same character. They're aliases Wen Wu uses. So that's a ludicrous statement. Of the what they call the yellow peril aspects of that character, it's because of the mysticism elements, and that's something that people keep overlooking and not talking about. The fact that he badmouthed the CCP is not going to help their cause at all, but it probably wouldn't have gotten shown anyway. They don't like foreign films that they think are offending their historical stuff, and the mysticism elements are going to get really panned. They're not big on that right now, and they're cracking down on much more nationalism. So you have to have more masculine stuff and more nationalistic themes, and anything that's very individualistic, like a solo character, probably not going to look real good to them right now. Right, Buster? You're not wrong. Captured by Twitter user Lou wrote, what Western news often fails to report on is the absolute groundswell of support that we've received from all parts of the world, including people from China. The people of China don't get a vote, idiot. They have no choice in this. It's all about what the CCP decides to do. All around us, media narratives are polarizing us or turning us against each other, but I've seen the kindness and empathy that all people possess. You obviously don't get out much. And I know that we have fans all over the world who cannot wait to watch our movies and make history with us. You're not really making history, but they'll watch it on a bootleg site with a VPN, like normal people, whenever they're trying to get past a blockage. Whether you seek positivity or toxicity on social media, you'll find it. Well, you're not exactly a helpful person on that front. He concluded, thanks to all Marvel fans in China and around the world, we love Woo! Okay, well, that was annoying. Sorry about that. Had to reset the router. I'd never never go full robot. You're not wrong. Yeah, I made the mistake of talking. Anyway, where was I? All right, where did I get cut off at? So yeah, this dipshit wanted to defund the police, and then bitches about unity. And then you scroll down, he had another thing where he was talking about, he gave his parents a video on systemic racism so they could proactively educate themselves. What? First of all, your parents are first generation immigrants. If they don't like it here, they can fucking leave and go back home. Enjoy living under the CCP if they don't like our alleged systemic racism that nobody's ever able to prove exists. So if you hate this country so much, get the fuck out. All right? This shit's got to end. We can't live in a society, a civilization where people continually dredge up stuff from distant history and say that it somehow affects them today. The racism of the past, and there was racism in the past, does not affect your living today. And nowhere is there a law saying Chinese people can't enter this store. That's not allowed. Suck it up, you fucking crybaby. All right? You don't like it? Go back, live in your enclave of ethnically pure people over in China. How's that? Ask the Mongolians how they feel, or if they're feeling oppressed, or the Uyghurs. Oh, you don't want to talk about the Uyghurs, do you? And how you're rounding up Muslims and killing them, harvesting their organs. No, you hate on America, even though you're way more accepted and free here than you would ever be in China. Fuck right off, you pussy. That's why people don't want to see your stupid movie. Go to hell. If you hate everything about this country, get the fuck out of it, okay? If you don't like Western civilization, there are a lot of other backworld, third world shitholes you could go live in. Have fun living in the Congo and tell me how much you like it there, you fucking asshole. Stop thinking of them as criminals. Look, black people are hated way more in China than they are here. And this whole systemic racism crap is a load of shit. Systemic racism explained. I've watched that stupid shit thing. It's fucking dumb. It's a bunch of lazy commie propaganda that if the CCP didn't hate black people, probably would have made it to subvert our country. So I'm sick of this shit. Stupid. I got no problem with this guy or any of his family or black people or whatever. But grow up. The system is not systemically racist, and we are not dismantling the police force just because of some fucking stupid bullshit where one guy fucking died of a fentanyl overdose. Get over it, you fucking crybabies. God. And I watch as the numbers of viewers drops. Yeah, all the defunding going on in Portland and Chicago and their crime spikes. Yeah, let me know how that's working out for you, fucking halfwits. Never listen to celebrities. They're some of the dumbest, most uneducated fucking people on the planet. And they're usually deviants, too, like sex pests and weirdos. Like I'm going to take moral advice from a bunch of people that look the other way at kitty diddlers and Harvey Weinstein raping chicks. Fuck off. Your moral superiority is vastly misplaced. Yeah, so don't dredge up the past. Just try and make today, the now, as good as possible. That's a good way of saying it. I take medication for my blood pressure. Thank you, Sean. Not really. I just kind of let it spiral out of control because fuck it. Who wants to live forever? Anyway, let's talk about a new card game. WizKids boldly goes on Star Trek missions. This is from ICV2. Based on Fantasy Realms card game, WizKids announced Star Trek missions designed by Fantasy Realm creator Bruce Glasgow and launching in February. Using the same game engine as Fantasy Realms, Star Trek missions is about building the highest scoring combination of cards possible, representing iconic missions, characters, and technology from the expansive Star Trek universe. Each turn, a player draws one card from the Galaxy deck, the mission deck, or the discard pile, then discards one card, making it available to their opponents. The value of each card is determined by the other cards the player holds in their hand, and maximizing these values is the key to winning the game. The game includes 50 Galaxy cards, 24 mission cards, and a score pad. It's intended for 3 to 6 players, 14 and up. Plays in half an hour, $20. Now, I don't know if you guys have played Fantasy Realms. It's pretty straightforward, easy to play game. And 14 and up's about right. And this is going to be one of those kind of fast-paced games. So this actually looks pretty cool. I'm intrigued to see how this plays out, and I'm probably going to pick it up. Because Fantasy Realms is a pretty decent game. And a Star Trek-themed one would be a pretty good idea. So WizKids has an interesting concept here that might be worth checking out. So I thought I'd share it. Why no new games? At least add new characters. Psh, adding new characters? What? That sounds like work. So WizKids has a game that looks pretty cool. All right, well, I was bitching about China a second ago. Might as well piss off some more people. So from Variety, China's Weibo suspends BTS, Blackpink, and other K-pop fan accounts. Butter. There's a really, really nasty gay porn joke in here that I'm just going to mosey on past. Leading Chinese social media platform Weibo has suspended nearly 24 fan accounts for BTS, Blackpink, and other major K-pop acts amidst a call for authorities to rein in excessive fan culture. This goes along with China's new policy of nationalism and masculinity. They think a lot of these K-pop boy bands are feminized. They said it a little bit more egregious than that, but there's some things I really shouldn't be saying on here or repeating in this case. The crackdown began days after photos began to circulate of a custom Jeju Air jet funded by a popular Chinese Weibo fan account for BTS member Jimin. Remember that guy that got the plastic surgery to try and look like Jimin? And it was super creepy. Well, a lot of K-pop fans are super creepy. Decked out in photos of the stars and a declaration of eternal love, the plane was intended as a crowd-funded birthday gift to his upcoming 26th birthday in October. Within hours, the platform said that due to online complaints, it would also place a month-long suspension on 21 other K-pop fan accounts, including 4 celebrating BTS, 3 related to Blackpink, that's a fucking crime against humanity, 3 about EXO, and 5 tied to boy band NCT. Never heard of that one. Stop at the ads. Weibo said in an explanatory statement that it firmly opposes such irrational star-chasing behavior and will deal with it seriously. Now remember, everything is run by the CCP. So if Weibo's saying this, it's coming from on high. It's got to be approved by the dictates of the Chinese Communist Party. And vowed to intensify its policing of fan culture to purify the online atmosphere. And if you didn't know, K-pop fans are fucking insane. I mean, they are some of the worst people on the planet. They will hound you relentlessly. Oh my God, you're a Lisa fan? But Jenny's the best. How could you ever say that? Oh, and they'll go after you for weeks. I may or may not have been subjected to that at a time or two. The suspensions come at a time when Chinese authorities are ramping up rhetoric about the need to clamp down on runaway fan spending and fan club chaos, issuing new directives just last week with language echoed in Weibo's statement. In response to its punishment amidst these new requirements, the Jimin fan account that was the first to be disciplined changed its name to signal a new starting point and posted the missive, "We call on everyone to be civilized, follow stars rationally, and build a harmonious and healthy online environment." That sounds like somebody from the party wrote it. Local reports said that the Jimin fan club began raising money in April in anticipation of his birthday and raised over 1 million RMB, which is 155 grand, in the first 3 minutes of its campaign, and 2.3 million in the first hour. They raised 356 grand in an hour. That's nuts. Man, how can I get into K-pop? The account's 1.1 million strong following far outstrips the 290,000 followers of BTS label Hybe's own official account. One of them lamented, "The era of online fan clubs has come to an end." Yeah, well, they're also glossing over the fact that these are all Korean bands, South Korean bands. And China's friendly with North Korea, not South Korea. And combine that with the fact these are foreigners. They're starting this nationalist trend in China, so they're alienating a lot of foreigner stuff to begin with. And this meets their requirements for effeminate men. That's also being filtered out, and they're trying to boost more nationalist pride. They're going to push more nationalist bands and state-approved stuff. I mean, these bands are pretty tepid anyway. They do generally love songs, stuff like that. Nothing real edgy, not a lot of swearing or whoring. So, yeah, it's not surprising that this is happening. Oh, thanks, Sir Adamantine. I hope so. The more the merrier. And thank you, Keldrick, for the donation. I'm sorry I missed this. I've come into money again, have a feminist donation. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That's really kind of you. I'm sorry I missed it. I was resetting the router. Stupid, crappy internet. Is that boy band named Butter? I think that might be BTS, but yeah, it's from Hybe. That's the company name, so they might actually... Yeah, it's BTS's album, Butter. It says BTS up there. I see their little logo. I thought they were chicks when I first saw them, so kind of get it. All right, let's talk about a Disney reboot, because that's what everybody loves. Oh, there's tons of plastic surgery in South Korea. It's the second highest outside of Thailand for trans surgery too. So if you want plastic surgery to feminize your features, you go to South Korea or Thailand. Thailand is actually number one for transgender surgeries because they have so many ladyboys there. Weird facts you find on the internet when you're having adventures. Specifically I was looking at Angkor Wat and ended up reading about the trans surgery craze over in Thailand. So you get on dark paths sometimes when you just start following links. Sorry about the train. I can't do anything about that. This comes from Cosmic Book News. Disney rebooting Flight of the Navigator with female lead and Bryce Dallas Howard. I kind of find her attractive. I don't normally find chicks like her attractive, but yeah, sup, Bryce. Disney is rebooting the classic 1986 film Flight of the Navigator for Disney Plus, but with a female lead, which will have Bryce Dallas Howard on board as director and producer. She's a pretty good director. Deadline describes the flick as a reimagining of the original. That means they're shitting all over the original. Reimagining just means they're going to destroy everything you liked about the original, which was a big-time fan favorite movie. I saw this in the theater when I was a kid. I liked it. And, yeah, it's a cheesy kids movie, but it was pretty interesting concepts. And it's real shame they're going to do the gender swap thing. It's so lazy. They haven't cast the girl yet. The project also reteams Bryce Dallas Howard with Disney Plus. Howard directed 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and is directing an episode of the upcoming Boba Fett series. Regarding the original movie, while it only brought in $18.5 million at the time, it's since become a cult classic. It did really well on home video. It was a really popular movie. The original, directed by Randall Kleiser, who did Grease, Blue Lagoon, Big Top Pee-wee, and Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, starred Joey Kramer's 12-year-old David Freeman, who's abducted from 1978 by an alien spaceship and returns in 1986. The alien spaceship features a robotic commander, Max, voiced by Paul Rubens, Pee-wee Herman, whose mission is to acquire biological specimens and bring them back to the planet Phalon, 560 light years away, and then return the specimens to their timeline. But it's thought that humans won't be able to survive time travel, so David is returned 8 years later when he did age because of light speed. While bringing David back to 1986, the ship crashes and needs David to become the navigator, as Max filled David's head with star charts and information it needs to get back home. The movie also stars Sarah Jessica Parker as a local horse. Disney was involved at the time, as while the studio decided against producing the movie, Disney distributed the film in the United States. The original Flight of the Navigator, via Wiki, is notable for being one of the first Hollywood films to use extensive CGI effects. Specifically, it was the first to use image-based lighting and early use of morphing in a motion picture. later made popular by Terminator 2. The film is also known to be one of the first Hollywood productions to feature an entirely electronic music film score composed by Synclavier and one of the first digital multi-track recordings and sampler. Obviously, the new movie will replace David Freeman with a female, who may identify as David Freeman. I don't know. But the original movie was a lot of fun. It's not a very serious or deep movie. It's like Explorers, kid goes out into space and does something cool, and then they have to correct it. So, yeah, if you ever saw this as a kid, get ready for them to destroy it. Bryce Dallas Howard being attached is a little bit of a slice of hope because she is a decent director. So hopefully they don't completely screw this. But I don't like the fact they're already swapping the lead for a female, rah-rah girl power nonsense, doesn't inspire a lot of hope. If they were doing a sequel to it, that could be really cool. Who will be the voice of the spaceship? I don't know. Probably some feminist. It'll probably have blue hair or a blue mohawk with the side of its head shaved. Gasping at straws now. Yeah, they are. They are really grasping at straws now, Spittlebug. Silly but good. Yeah, same with the old movie The Quest. I liked that movie too. That was such a bizarre movie. I liked Explorers because it was such a goofy film. And Flight of the Navigator, I have a lot of nostalgia for these because I saw them when I was a kid. But they keep making them into lazy reboots. Like, this was not an edgy film, but they're going to try and make it into some kind of weird girl power propaganda piece where the girl's smarter than everyone and saves the day. She's all smooth and shiny. Yeah. Glistening with sweat, a little bit of injury there. Looks kind of badass. Yeah. So I'm probably going to go get the original. I think I have it on DVD and watch that instead. It's the same thing with like Return to Witch Mountain and stuff like that. You just go watch the originals. The new stuff's garbage. Yeah, good call, Elwolf. Yeah, show people the originals. Get them to watch that stuff because that's usually way more interesting. And they had better writing back then because they didn't have to be all PC and crap like that. All right, let's talk about bounding into comics again. Oh, hang on, my chat's frozen. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. If you want to support me, Streamlabs link is pinned at the top and in the description. Okay, I'm done stalling. Watching them get the women who voice the robot in Han Solo's. Yeah, great. That'd be lovely. The Phoebe Waller-Cates, I think her name is. She's going to be in the new Indiana Jones. She did that voice, I think. She wrote that movie, I'm pretty sure. Fables creator Bill Willingham says changes to the comic book industry have left Marvel and DC firmly composed of the stunted tantrum monsters. Stunted tantrum monsters is a great description for Marvel and DC. According to Fables creator Bill Willingham, the recent predilection held by comic book professionals, particularly those who work for the big two, toward acting cranky, abrasive, and downright insulting to their own fans is a result of both a shifting industry landscape and the abusive tyranny of the publishers themselves. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Willingham shared his thoughts on the subject on September 1st, publishing a piece called Why Are Some Comic Pros So Damn Abrasive? To his personal Substack account, in which he attempts to offer a theory to account for the not really recent phenomenon. I've been in this business more than 40 years, enough to have some perspective, and there have been some cranky pros that whole time, of course. I do intend to name too many names. I don't intend to name too many names because it isn't my intention here to take them to task, either collectively or as individuals. It is my intention to offer some insider's perspective on one of the possible reasons this may be. Because they're a bunch of spoiled children. The writer then posited that it's the law of fecal gravity. Put in a more earthy way, it is now and always has been the case that shit rolls downhill. Since the dawn of modern comics, the publishers and their editors' representatives have made it their business to keep the freelancers under their thumb. to keep us in place, which is the state of being cringingly subservient to them. Oh, that's true. Divide and conquer. Seems to be a theme today. Willingham next recalled two anecdotes to support his claim. First, he pointed to veteran comic book creator Jim Shooter's own experience working at DC at the young age of 13, wherein, according to Shooter, those two editors took full advantage of his young age to treat him like crap. Well, yeah, seems to be a theme. In fact, expounded William, the story goes that they would brag around the DC offices how completely they have this kid under their heels, and he can't do anything about it because he's so young. I don't know why they put Adventure Comics on there. Whatever. Second, Willingham pointed to his own interaction with the Marvel editor, who introduced himself to the author for the first time by accosting him and declaring, "Listen here, I'm the new editor on Wild Cards, and I want you to know from the beginning that I'm not going to take any shit from any damn arrogant freelancer who came out of damn gaming and thinks he knows a damn thing. Let's get that straight right away." Okay, lick my balls. Never having spoken to this fellow before then, he continued, I told him, I remember it as politely said, but who knows? No thanks, I won't be spoken to like that from anyone. And then it ended my run on the Wild Cards project and any chance of working at Marvel for many years. Yeah, I don't blame you. Working in a hostile environment like that, it's not worth it. These examples Willingham wrote were perfect examples of a general industry atmosphere where, as a general rule, comic book creatives learn to act as we're taught to act, and that the hallowed halls of the comic publishing game were places rife with spoiled children in positions of authority. Well, that's definitely hasn't changed. The bullied often become bullies, he then pointedly observed. Yeah, he's just speaking things we already know. Oh, speaking of bullies. This trend of the bully becoming the bully, said Willingham, could also be seen in the contemporary sense in an episode of Marvel's 616 released late last year, featuring current Fantastic Four writer Dan Slott. Dan Slott is a huge bully. Oh, no worries, Evil One. Glad you're here. One of those odd Marvel behind-the-scenes specials on the Disney Channel. I can't believe they actually air these things, because these things make them look like total assholes and lazy on top of that. We saw longtime comics creator Dan Slott absolutely humiliated on camera by his editor, Tom Brevoort. He explained it. Of course, Dan Slott is notorious for how badly he treats his readers, because those who are trained to be bullies don't abuse the ones who bullied or bully, because it seems to be ongoing. They bully the next ones down the line, which is why nobody respects any of these people. They're all a bunch of bullies. So if I were in charge of Marvel, I'd fire half of these people because they're assholes and nobody wants to work around them, and they've chased so many people away. It's all about the law of fecal gravity. That's my theory. It doesn't encompass everyone, because not everyone becomes a bully. No matter how badly they were treated and continue to be, most have more character than that, but some do become a bully. And in an environment of stunted children ruling by fiat and tantrum, it's little wonder some continue to be stunted children who lash out by fiat and tantrum. Yeah, he's not wrong. I'm completely agreeing with 90% of this. As to why the examples of the Sloth seem more prominent now, Willingham put forth two explanations. First, those who can leave the screaming halls of grown child terrors now have ways to do so without sacrificing their careers to do it. True. Think of Substack crowdfunding and a more healthy pantheon of independent publishing houses. There are actually those scrappy young contender outfits out there who are treating freelancers as well as an inducement for leaving the big two to come over to their shop. Yeah, they can always go to Image or some of these other smaller press stuff like Boom. This change in the industry landscape, argued Willingham, leaves the two big publishing houses more firmly composed of the stunted tantrum monsters without leavening the influence of the still sane and modestly mature. I find that last part insulting. Maturity is overrated. The second reason he added is social media. That's a big part of this. Willingham explained, in the past, the child terrors among the writers and artists in comics could only take out their ire on readers in small doses at conventions and store signings and such. Now one can reach thousands at a time, day in and day out, and one thing bullies will always do is bully wherever they can. Yep, However, Willingham noted the advent of social media was not entirely detrimental, as the same social media is also the mechanism that allows those now to set upon readers, critics, and until now they were innocent bystanders to fight back, a fact which drives the bullies apeshit over the top even more into uncontrollable rage land. That's because they all are emotional toddlers who never got beyond the age of 2 or 3, where they could get their way by screaming a lot. We saw this with Mark Waid. Mark Waid is legendary in the comic industry for his tantrums and slamming things around and sending flowers to a guy who said, "What would your dead wife think of you?" Stuff like that. Those stories are out there, piled upon pile, for years, and nobody really paid attention because he could be civil at the conventions. But if you kind of delve deeper, then you would see it. Now it's all over social media. Look at what he tried to do to Richard C. Meyer. Say what you will about that guy. Wade shouldn't have interfered with his contract, and that's what it looked like he did. So going around yelling at people, blocking people, and being a general ass is not a way to promote yourself. It's a way to lose work and lose fans. Every single professional in the industry should be acting like a professional on their social media. You want to be an asshole behind the scenes, that's fine, but promote your work or you're going to lose people and you're going to lose money. He concluded, the rot is deep. This has been the culture in comics for decades, so it won't end soon. Oh, I think it will, because Marvel's probably going to get shut down. Remember, even after the rot has long set in, it still took Rome 500 years to fall. This will be with us for some time to come. He ultimately concluded, of course, that's assuming my theory and observations are correct. It could be way off the mark. I don't think he's off the mark. I think he's pretty spot on. Unfortunately, that is largely, aside from the propaganda and the obviously crappy stories, the way they're treating fans is a big part of the problem. There are people that will buy every issue of Spider-Man blindly. But if you insult them personally, they're going to dump it forever. And they won't come back. You chase the whales off, you're not going to have any business. And unfortunately, that seems to be what their entire plan is, to get hate views. And they think everybody should conform to their notions of priority. And it's just not working out for them. Wade is very much a child, in my opinion. Oh yeah, he'll attack people because he's an idiot. And he's a child. He can't control himself. He has no self-control. He just goes after people. That's what it looks like. All right. Only a couple things left here. Now, sorry, somebody earlier in chat mentioned Pazio. And I found the article on that while I was getting set up. So thank you for the person that brought that to my attention. Yeah, sorry about the roboting earlier. I wasn't looking at chat because I was reading the article. So I apologize for that. But yeah, thank you for pointing this out. Pazio President Jeff Alvarez responds to recent staff changes. Apparently, they're getting some pushback from the SJWs on this. How about dropping social justice aspects and returning to Pathfinder? Good luck with that dream. This is a bland, meaningless statement, one that utterly sidesteps any complaints in favor of "we're progressive." Yeah, so let's take a look at the statement that was released, because I pulled that up. This is from their website. Pazio staff changes update from Pazio President Jeff Alvarez. The recent departure of 2 longtime Pazio employees has generated a great deal of public discussion, including a series of accusations critical of the company's management that range back several years. While Pazio cannot discuss personnel issues in public, we wish to strongly reaffirm the company's commitment to the ideals of inclusiveness and diversity in gaming, both within our company and in the products we create. From the day the company opened back in 2002 all the way to the present, POC and LGBTQIA plus contributors and staff have been a crucial part of our creative team and business operations, and our company has been the forefront of these issues as we work to publish and the values we espouse. We are committed to these values and work to do better every day, backed up by a tremendous staff at all levels of the company, all of whom share the values of inclusivity, diversity, and improvement. God, it's cult mantra, blah, 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 blah. Meaningless platitudes. We're also working actively to listen to those employees and take additional steps to ensure that they feel their voices are being heard. And then they're going to do some Hail Marys and light some candles or some shit. By doing so, we believe we have become better now than we were 5 years ago, and we will be better 5 years from now than we are today. All right, then we got some responses here. 1,189 characters, yet nothing was said at all. Jeff, with the accusations against you and other members of management for not listing those individuals to be best for Pazio if you step down, and this statement will probably not get the responses you want, even if the allegations against you are false. It brings bad attention to the company, which if you truly care about, you don't want. So they're already calling for this guy to quit his job. You can never please these people. Stop apologizing. Based on the accounts of how you treat trans people alone, this is not good enough. Be better now. How can you be better now? That's a meaningless statement. Be better now. Right now. Well, what's he supposed to do? He's got to find out what he did wrong. If he did something wrong. Actions speak louder than words. I'd like to know what actions you and Tanya have taken personally to empower staff and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion at Pazio. What does that mean, empowering staff? They can just do whatever the hell they want? There's no accountability. Show up at noon, drink a bunch of coffee, pee on the floor, maybe turn out some product. What does that mean? What does that mean to empower the staff? And how do you promote diversity, equity, and inclusion? These are nebulous terms that are thrown out all the time. Yes, it's buzzwords. It's like a little buzzword bees swimming around your head, going bzzz, and that's all it is. Just buzzwords, meaningless drivel, nonsense sounds made by Charlie Brown's mom. These words ring empty and hollow without showing any steps that are being taken to fix the problems that have been revealed. What problems? I haven't seen the accusations here, but you list nothing that needs to be changed. If you want change, you have to tell people what to change, and that's not in your statement. It's a very short, one really long worded sentence that says nothing. Why do they have to tell you what steps they're taking? That seems like that would be an internal issue. I'd like to be more clear. Actionable steps put forward by the company. This is pretty empty. Duh. Even if you just wanted to throw something up to stop the bleeding, we're not going to discuss this internally and come back with the steps we're going to take would be better. That's what I would have said. We're discussing this internally and making fun of all you idiots. Recent departure certainly is one of the ways it could have been phrased, stating the public statements were with misleading passive descriptions of what happened really isn't giving me much hope for a proper response. Well, okay, you're a rulebook subscriber. Well, they're not going to appease everybody no matter what they do, so why bother? Stop with the social justice crap. Worse than nothing. Nothing would have been a single-handed, honest disinterest. Boilerplate corporate non-denial is just lying to our faces. Well, that's kind of all they can do at this point. All the statement is missing is a 5% discount code. We love you. Hey, a discount code. That would have been cool. I like discounts. This says nothing, Jeff. We're aware of Pazio's stated values. It's not what the outcry is about. Not sure why you bothered with this. Some asshole told him to. That's why. You can't put out a raging fire with a little wind. You just fuel it. Well, throw some gasoline on and go full bore. Commit. We're a company trying to constantly improve while not addressing any issues raised that would suggest the opposite of laying out any concrete agenda for how you plan to improve. Because any plan you lay out is going to be torn apart anyway. You're not going to make everyone happy, so you're going to get constant bitching. Accusations that I've used offensive slurs about members of the staff are categorically false. Many LGBTQIA plus members of the Pazio staff are close friends of mine, and I would never talk that way around anyone on our staff in our community. What most likely happened is these accusations were made by somebody that got fired, and they're angry, and they said, well, he said this as a retribution. Re-empower the staff. If they work, they get paid. That is the empowering staff. Yeah, absolutely. Produce a product, and nobody cares who works there. Yeah. Yeah, good products are what sells, not this bullshit corporate pandering. This gets you nothing. You're just feeding into it more and more. look, he could have denied the accusations, fine. But this constant shilling and pandering of, oh, we love the LGBTQIA+, you're not helping yourself. They will never let it go. You've already sinned against them. There is no redemption in this weird cult of crazy people. We need to do a lot better than a couple paragraphs of non-apologies and promises to listen to employees. All the management staff responsible need to step down. Well, what if it's not true? Then why should anyone step down? I can't be homophobic. I have gay friends. This has never been a free pass. We have at least 2 people corroborating this. Were they both the people that were fired? Because if they were, they've got a reason to say stuff like that. They want revenge. And 2 people corroborate. I thought the standard was 4. I'm offended. I'm less offended by boilerplate statements, PR dumps, and attorney cone blurbs than most folks are, and I think this is pretty bad. Suck it up, you pans. I don't know if I could say that. This is painfully shallow, disappointing, and tone-deaf response, Jeff. You have the opportunity to get out of this, address concerns, and more appropriately list actual actions to be taken. Why? Why do they owe you anything? You instead gave the scandal 101 corporate response. Yeah, that's what they always do. And it says nothing and promises vague, ill-defined attempts to be better. Was withholding, dropping my sub, waiting on Pazio's response. Nothing in your statement has convinced me to hold on to those. In fact, that lukewarm response was, with its tepid response, is better to be better in 5 years than I am today, is pushing me further in the opposite direction. Oh, man. Well, it may have been hopelessly bait for me to think Pazio was better than this. I generally hope the culture was representative of the inclusive, progressive work found in your books. Well, maybe they shouldn't have made them progressive and crazy people tractors, because that seems to be what's going on here. They can't discuss Sarah as it's against the law in Wilmington or in Washington. Yeah, they can't talk about falling out from Sarah's firing, Jessica's allegations, and all the extra stuff it'll stir up. Yeah, they can't talk about that because they'll get sued for slander. And it's probably already in litigation anyway. These 2 people are probably already suing. This really isn't getting the scope of the problems. I feel bigotry is only one of the problems. You haven't established bigotry. You've established 2 people accused them of it. Let's see some evidence. Because I'm not seeing anything saying we have screenshots of the email. This is all just people mad that somebody accused somebody. I guess that's evidence these days. The treatment of employees is another that was barely touched upon. Many of us want to know how you're going to listen to employees to make the company better. They'll have them send emails to HR. Of course, it's dismissive, you idiot. Saying this is one thing, doing is another. We want action, not platitudes. No, you want platitudes that best serve you. That's all. Let's see. Accusations that I've used offensive stuff. Sir, your name is Captain Nemo. Sir seems a bit formal. The issue is no matter what, you are only bringing bad publicity to Pazio now. No, they did that when they went woke. Your empty statement doesn't talk about any actual steps you or the rest of Pazio are going to take. Why would they tell you? Just what you have done. And one of the allegations is that of taking credit while pushing back on those same ideas. Well, that's pretty normal in corporate world. Even if the allegations are false, the doubt will linger in people's minds. Well, that's up to you. When this happens, the company needs some kind of change to restore faith, whether that is an independent investigation of all the claims with transparent reporting and finding. Where do you think these people work? This is a small publishing company, or a change in leadership that is considered problematic at the time by public perceptions. Okay, that's kind of what's going on there. Thought that might be worth looking at, and it just kind of made me mad. You know, if they promote citizen. So yeah, that's really all I had today. It looks like Pazio's getting some of the slap back they deserve for going woke. You can never make wokeists happy. Don't even bother trying. If they're gonna hate you, they're always gonna hate you. There's no redemption. Once you've sinned, you're always gonna wear that scarlet letter. So there's no point in trying. They've made it so that their entitlement is more important than your ability to feed yourself. So no matter what you do, pandering to a specific group only will lead you down a dark path. So unless you're like involved in politics, wedging your gaming stuff in politics is a pretty terrible idea. Unless you're going for a niche market, then that's a different animal altogether. But these guys make Pathfinder, and it used to be a really popular game. And I've heard it was going woke for a couple years now. And it doesn't surprise me that they're falling apart now because they always eat their own. You're never woke enough. You're always going to have somebody that feels like their marginal personality thing is their personal goal thing is not representative enough. And you could never make everyone happy. And the more they try and do that, the more they water everything down and the more categorized people feel, and they feel like they're marginalized. Well, unless you're going to, even that Thirsty Sword Lesbians game, it doesn't address trans people, does it? Well, why isn't trans people in the title? Why isn't, it sounds ableist. Why isn't disabled people in the title? You can never make every single group happy. And the more you try, the more you're going to fail. And the circle of life continues. The more they'll come after you, the more you have to apologize, the more you're trying to fix things. And eventually you'll just run out of money. And it'll probably stress you out on top of that. Bitch that stirs up shit whenever she goes and fired let go from a lot of places because of it. Yeah, I'm not surprised. People like that people that are troublemakers tend to drift around a lot. And they will stir up trouble everywhere they go. And eventually they'll get into a position where they can destroy something. And they'll destroy everybody in their wake because miserable people want to be miserable and they want you to be miserable. They will do everything in their power to drag you down to their level. And that fills the little evil demon that lives inside them. It's sort of my theory of the fun sponge that, like, okay, so back in college, I knew this guy, Jason, and we always said he had a fun sponge. That's a little demon that lives inside of him that thrives off misery. And he walks into a room and he'd be like, "Hi, guys." And that demon would consume all the fun immediately out of the room. And it would thrive off of that. And the misery in the room would also empower him. And it would just bring this dour mood everywhere he went because he'd just walk in and, "Hey, guys, what's going on?" Everybody be like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, Jason." And Jason, if you're listening to this, fuck you. I hate you. But that's the type of thing these people do. They walk in and they're miserable people inherently, and they want to see other people miserable. They'll say otherwise, and maybe they really, on some level, don't want other people to be miserable, but they get a kick out of creating misery and chaos in their wake. They enjoy destroying other people because it makes them feel some flickering emotion, and they misjudge that for some sort of like quasi-sexual joy. It's almost an orgasmic feeling because that's the closest thing they have to pleasure in their life, because they're hollow, empty, meaningless people that lead meaningless little lives, and they think they should be more than they are, and instead of working hard to become more than they are, they want to drag everyone else down to their level. And I'm getting tired of seeing it. I think a lot of other people are too. And we need to start pushing back on this. Start supporting people that are creating things that you like and things that aren't going down this woke rabbit hole. Don't support people that don't like you and don't want your money. That's the easiest way to do it. That's why I keep saying don't buy books from people that insult you. Don't buy them new, at least. Buy it out of the 50-cent box. Buy it at a garage sale. Don't consume things that support people that consider you an enemy. That's not healthy. Yeah, fuck you, Jason. Great name, Fun Sponge. Yeah, we came up with that back in, that'd have been about 93, 94. That guy was a real piece of work. Thought he was a genius, too. Like, he was this Weasley-looking dude, and real nerdy, kind of hunched over all the time. And he'd rub his hands together like a supervillain because he thought that was cool for some reason. And he thought he was this like grand chess master, and we'd beat him all the time, and he'd be like, "You got lucky." And he also spoke Russian, and that was annoying because he'd do it randomly. He also played a lot of Vampire the Masquerade, which is probably why I resented that game for a really long time. But that dude would just walk in a room and there'd be this cloud of misery, like Pigpen from the Peanuts comic strip. It'd be this aura of misery around him, which is sort of like the paladin aura of protection, but instead of a +1 to his defense, he'd have -4 to happiness. And you couldn't stay happy around him. He could walk by perfectly happy people that didn't know him, and they'd just start like scowling and frowning. It was an uncanny super ability that he had, but he was just one of the most miserable people on the planet. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I will get all fired up on a tangent because I disliked that man so much. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm glad to see such a huge turnout today. That's awesome. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And be sure to hit the thumbs up on the way out if you haven't already. As always, thank you so much for coming out and supporting me and just listening to me complain, because I got off on some crazy long tangents today. Hopefully that won't happen on Friday. Should be doing the Friday stream for Friday Night Comics as usual. I'll send out a tweet, so follow me on Twitter. Links in the description. Sorry, Evolved. No one plays Vampire the Masquerade is well adjusted. Dude, I've noticed that there seems to be a lot of issues with that. Yeah. But thanks again for coming out, and hopefully we will see you on the next one. You guys have a great day, and I might be streaming some politics later on the other channel. I'll send out a tweet if I do on my personal Twitter page. So check out for that, because I got a couple things that I want to cover since Monkey's not streaming. But other than that, another comic stream on Friday. Take care, everybody. I'll see you then.